We'll call the meeting of the West Newbury Select Board to order at 5:34. Some announcements before we get started. Summer bandstand concert series unfortunately was canceled tonight. There's details about the schedule for the rest of the summer on the town website. The Sage Center July-August newsletters coming out soon. Next Tuesday night at 6 p.m. We're having a Route 113 corridor planning workshop. This is a continuation of the work the consultant TC has been doing on Route 113 planning, and that will be in the town annex. Is that being recorded, Angus?
Yes, Adam will be there.
Okay, so it'll be live on cable, or is this?
He cannot broadcast live from the annex, so it'll be recorded and then produced for subsequent broadcast.
Also wanted to remind people to complete the survey that the organizational assessment consultant has put out. That's due tomorrow by 5 p.m. It's a Google form. You can find a link on the town webpage, on the homepage. They're also collecting information about the new town manager and what people want to see, so their input is really needed on that. And finally, call for volunteers. We have a complete list of the current openings on the volunteers pad on the homepage. Item A is public comment. Anybody here wishing to make a public comment about a topic not on the agenda? Okay. Moving on to town manager updates.
Okay, first item, we have a contract planner during the interim period, and she's been in twice so far, each of the last 2 weeks, and seems to be off to a good start. I think the planning board's happy with the level of service that they're going to get. And as people may know, the decision was made to not post that position until after the organizational assessment is complete. Her name is Eve Tapper, and she's in regular contact with Jen Geary, who's here full time. So if people have questions, Eve is covering the town planner email account, but if people have pressing time sensitive things, they can always contact Jen. Our new assistant clerk, Abby Minton, began on Tuesday, and we're very happy to welcome her. She's going to be great. She just graduated UVM in the last few weeks and had a couple of internships at Liberty City Hall prior to us hiring her, and has a really strong resume. We think she's just going to be a great addition. So people should stop by during regular building hours and say hello to Abby. And then unfortunately we did get notice of resignation from our treasurer collector. She's accepted the same position in the town of Oxford. So Caitlin Gilbert will be finishing her tenure on July 16th. So we have posted the job. We've got some resumes and we're looking to move quickly on that. Obviously, it's an enormously consequential position for the town in many respects, but including other banking and investment management. So we want to have minimal interim, if at all. Some period of interim is probably inevitable, even though she gave 4 weeks, which I appreciate, but it can often take 8 to 12 weeks to fill a position, and sometimes more depending on the candidate pool. So we are working actively on planning for that transition as well as any interim period.
So is there an assistant or someone who can fill that, some duties in the interim?
No, unfortunately, no. Normally, my name is the second name on the bank account, so I'm the backup for banking and investments. And obviously, with my pending departure, that's not, normally we would make that adjustment, but that's not going to really work in this case. That would only buy us 2 weeks. And our finance assistant had left about a month ago to go back to her job in banking. So right now, Jenny is a one-person operation. Caitlin's a one-person operation. So we were already extremely busy in the finance department. So the timing is not great.
So there will or won't be a gap in terms of someone who can do all the tasks?
Well, there's probably bound to be some gap. And so we're looking at different contingency plans. There are a couple of potential things that, I could go into, but I think, there's a couple of potential things.
That's being addressed.
Yes, that's being addressed actively.
Yeah, I don't think we can afford to go without.
No, you absolutely can. I mean, her names are on the bank accounts and on the checks that we write, so. Again, normally that could be changed to the town manager, so I have reached out to the, to see about the timing of the interim town manager. I know they're not intending to begin until close to the end of my tenure. But I think out of the circumstances, we would probably need to put their name on the bank account, but that's all stuff I'm working with, Caitlin and Jen and Rebecca on.
Thanks.
So, yes, it's a focus. So, and just for people curious, the position in Boxford, higher salary, 4 days a week, matched all the vacation and benefits, and full-time assistant treasurer collector, whereas this is a one-person office, so it really was not a situation we could match. Caitlin has served us well for the.
One other question, there was a reference to maybe someone from our board being in the interviewing process. Is that something that
But I have been doing that
Oh,
with
so you-
students, and so
you're gonna keep doing that?
I'm fine unless somebody else wants to do it.
Great.
Next item, I included the materials we received from DER following the working meeting we had about 2 weeks ago. If there's questions on that, we can get into it, but basically, we're gonna receive the final work product by the end of June. And that will be shared with the board, and I would assume at that point, put that on for more of a discussion item. But what you have in the packet is the next interim work product on that.
The budget number was kind of frightening,
I think very frightening, yeah.
1.4 million to replace that culvert. 700,000 of it is the components. I don't know where that comes from, grants or.
There are grants, but not, yeah, I mean, it's, not for that amount per town, would have to put some, into it, so. At this point, this is, just a assessment stage, and it would be up to the board whether or how to proceed with that.
Somewhere in the documents you asked about engineering and design costs,
Yeah.
it was 10 to 15%, so.
Typically that's like a rough number, I asked them if they had anything more better than that, but,
Potentially in the fall, we could be looking at 140 to 160,000 to fund for that.
if the town chose to, kind of proceed with, full haste on that, that would be presumably the next step. But I think that's a big if, given, everything else going on, so. Next item, the town meeting had appropriated funds for a town-wide culvert conditions assessment to complete the work that was done last spring with a grant, with the, Ipswich River Watershed Association, and we have since signed a contract with the funds that were appropriated with Horsley Witten. We had a kickoff meeting about 2 weeks ago, and I think that's going to go very, very smoothly. Basically, Butch and Paul, based on their kind of institutional knowledge of the town, have marked up a map and identifying all culverts that were not previously assessed, and then at that point, Horsley Witten and their subcontractor does the assessments. Next to no staff time, although they are going to let Butch and Paul and Dan know, so they can go out and observe it. But that's really just for their interest, not the consultants can largely do that independently once they have all of the patients identified. So the end product of that will be another report similar to the one we got last year around this time for the 50 or so culverts that were evaluated last spring. And that should complete the conditions assessments for all culverts townwide, which one of the work products is also to get that integrated with GIS to substantially improve the town's mapping of stormwater infrastructure.
So
So,
will that be available on my map?
yes, yeah. Next item, Middle Street Bridge. I did put together a couple of update slides, so I'll shift to that and do a screen share. So I was out there again today with Butch, and I had posted something on Facebook along these lines, but this has a little bit more, this fleshes it out a little bit more. So let's see, so this is a photo actually as of today. So you can see this, quite a bit done, but it's unchanged from what you've seen a couple of weeks ago. So it's an active project management issue. Our most recent meeting was just on Monday with the contractor, myself, Butch, Caitlin, John Eric White, and GPI. The majority of the bridge is complete, foundation deck, stormwater, retaining walls, and base course of paving. The remaining work is the guardrail system, which is what's caused the current delay. I'll go into that in a little more detail, and once that's complete, then they'll do the final paving and the cleanup and permanent closeout. But the guardrail system, this is on the approach looking east on the left and on the right looking west. And those of you who've been on the board for a few years will remember that this guardrail was a particular design challenge in this bridge, and it actually had to go to what's called the Design Solutions Committee at Mass DOT, which is in Boston. It's like kind of the high ups once things kind of get to a level. And what the complexity is to do with basically the geometry that the guardrail, the approach to the bridge and how it is intersecting with the bridge. Because what you can see and looking at both of these is it's a fairly tight angle, and these guardrails are not designed to bend that far. So it has to be cut and fabricated on both approaches in order to match the geometry of the bridge. So that was made clear in the bid documents. We actually got it's a drawing from back in my files back in 2023 when this issue kind of first came up in the permitting process. This single issue cost us a couple of months during the permitting at Mass DOT. And this is and we made clear at the pre-bid conference, we spoke to it specifically. It was in the bid documents, everything was clear. But basically, it wasn't fabricated ahead of time. So that's the delays. They got to fabricate these guardrails to have that kind of more acute angle. And what I put in this is actually a letter that we got. I know it's not legible, but this is back in March of 2023, where we got a specific approval from MassDOT specifically for this guardrail. So this is not like just a miscellaneous thing. This was actually a focus of great attention during the permitting and the engineering, and Mass DOT did approve, what's being done, but where it's not a stock item, it's something that the contractor, didn't, or really, I should say, in fairness, the subcontractor didn't fully appreciate the uniqueness of it, so didn't get ahead of it in terms of getting things ordered. So that's what's accounting for the fact that there's no action out there right now, and that's been the case for the last few weeks. There have been a number of meetings on this in the last 8 weeks or so. And our specific goal was to make sure it's done exactly how it's designed and not having to go back to Boston for another review. There was a prospectus, earlier this calendar year that it looked like that, because there was some sense from the sub of could they in fact fabricate it that way. They've now provided their drawings and that's been signed off and everything's approved. So everything's on track. It's obviously cost us, some delay. So the next step is to get those fabricated. That's underway. Some of the sonotubes, that's these black things here, may actually need to be relocated in order to match the geometry. So that's also part of why it becomes a little bit of a bigger issue. That's all on the contractor. None of that is on the town. None of that is going to affect the cost because it was all bid properly. But just so for people on Facebook, it's just garbage. Well, these things are never as simple as people might think.
Where is it being fabricated?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I could find out, but I don't.
And we don't know what date when it's supposed to be ready.
The meeting we had a meeting on Monday. The prior meeting before that was June 2nd. And my notes from that show that once that it could be about 2 weeks. At that time, that the construction drawings hadn't been signed off yet. They have since been approved. So I think the time was about 3 weeks to fabricate, but that's a theoretical time. That's from our engineer from the prime. The sub they're the ones who have to do it. So that's why we're leery of putting a date out there because it's,
Several weeks at least.
Yeah, but there is still the prospect it would open in July, but we've been, we don't wanna put that out there and just keep having people beat up on us when it's doing the best they can, so.
The original contract completion date is.
Is November 2030, so we continue, November 30, 2026. So we continue to be on schedule and under budget, that is true. I know people are impatient, but, it is, we are well within schedule and under budget, so. Yeah, they can't do the finished paving until last time, and as part of the finished paving. There's gonna be a leveling, I don't think it shows up in this photo, but if you do happen to look out there from the Newbury port side, there's a little bit of water, puddling on one side. That's not how it's gonna end up. That's the finished course of paving. We'll get the crown to channel all the water toward the catch basins, so. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Yeah, ribbon cutting, formal opening is not to be scheduled until we have a reliable date. Once we know that, we will probably publicize that.
So is there any talk of opening it to pedestrian traffic, or do you want to just wait till?
No, I think that would be, until it's signed off as complete, I think, and certainly, you certainly wouldn't do that without the guardrail. You need those.
The drivers for me, so.
Well, they are, but from a liability standpoint, I can't imagine SNR, I don't know why they would agree to that. So, I mean, they're within their contract form, so.
Who would be responsible for putting an update on the town website? Or something, or Abby?
Well, this is the thing, on issues like this is, because there's some nuance to it, I tend to be personally involved with that stuff.
So is it too much to ask, just like once a week, just to sort of get some information from, we had a site visit, or this is the update on the fabrication, just so it's not a blank. I mean, I looked for it on the website, there was nothing about it at all.
Mhm.
So some of this information making its way to the website might help people.
Yeah, I mean, we can post this document, I've produced this, it already exists, but I will say, I'm somewhat guarded with my time, because what's on my list.
Just a quickie that just says, if the
But not as
guardrail
quick
is on
as,
the
not as
fabrication.
quick as you might think, and once you post it, it generates
I was
another.
gonna say, then the calls are gonna come.
Exactly,
Isn't that
so
too
it's
fast?
kind of,
Well,
that's what these meetings are for, is to provide updates, this is a public meeting and providing updates.
But you could put the slide deck on the project page, right?
Yeah, easily, yeah.
for that, yeah.
Yeah. But if you delegate this to someone and they post it not quite right, and then it just creates bigger issues, so.
So is there a link to the project page on the main website?
Yeah, the town projects page, this page, I think it's been probably, 6 or 8 weeks since I updated it, so.
This would be a good update.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a substantive update, and that would be easy to do. All right, anything more on that? All right, next item, the Page Pipe Safe Crossing. This is also in a bit of a delay. We're working to get that completed. And that may entail revision to the contract. So we are actively working on that. I think we've had 3 meetings on that in the last week. So that's a very active issue. We did get the permit extended by Mass DOT, so there's no problem there. It's more an issue of between the prime contractor and the subcontractor. There's some issues, and we are trying to help that, and we have been trying to help that. So.
That's where she talks about a permanent trench installation.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So right now, there's basically, you have in your packet the punch list, and there's basically two categories of work. One is the trench and the other is the striping. The striping can't get done until the trench is done. The trench is, when you go out there, there's the temporary trench, that's gotta be removed and replaced with a permanent trench. The prime contractor had hoped they would be able to do that with a mill and pave. And our engineer thought that would probably be or could be acceptable to DOT, but we learned earlier today that that was not accepted by the DOT, so they're requiring a complete replacement of the trench, so that's driving up project costs, and again, not on the town side, it's on the contractor side. So,
What does that trench do?
it's the electrical conduits
Oh,
for the rapid flasher leaking. So we've been, we've been working quite a bit on that. So I know people don't see stuff out in the field, but it's something Butch and I are working on, Caitlin, several times a week.
An anticipated timeframe to complete?
We have been pushing to get it done before the end of my tenure, and that remains the objective, but I will tell you, I think the only way that happens is if we cancel the contract and hire a different contractor, so, which takes time. So,
By the start of school, is that safe?
well, I mean, we have the money and we have so I reached out to town council today, this depends how things go, we'll go out to the bond and these things take time, so I don't want to put a date out there, but our goal remains to get it done before I leave, because I don't want to leave loose ends, but obviously there's only so much.
so the trench is, I don't know, there's the hope and all those other items, but is it functional?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, oh, it's been
School
functional,
opens,
yeah,
school
yeah.
opens, there's no
It's
gaps.
totally functional, it's been functional since late 2025.
From a pedestrian
Yes,
crossing.
yeah, you can cross that in the crosses, and the line striping is not where it will be. Because right now you have the vestiges of the old crosswalk, that's gonna be taken off. The new crosswalk will be restriped, there's actually two parallel crosswalks, one with lines, one without lines, and so that's the work that needs to be done. And there was an issue after daylight savings time with the timing of when it came on and came off was an hour off. But we were able to get the electrical sub to come out and fix that, so that's been rectified. So yeah, it's totally functional, it's totally safe, it's just not closed out, and there is some, we're down to the late stages, but there's a couple of things to be done. Pickleball courts have been, all the fencing in, the top course of paving was in about a month ago. They've been painted, the striping is supposed to happen tomorrow. And the signage has been finalized, approved by Park and Rec and sent for fabrication. The nets are not going to be put up until the very last thing, because we know once those are up, people will start using the courts, even if they're not formally open. So that's not going to happen to the very end. The acoustic fence is supposed to go in next week. And once all of that work is done, the contractor is going to be doing the stone dust path from the courts back to the Action Cove lot, as well as cutting the new path toward the snack shack. So that's all, both those paths are going to happen at the same time. One of the other things with the pickleball courts is the permit closeout with both Comcast and planning board. So right now we're penciled in for both the Comcast July 6th agenda and the planning board July 7th agenda to get certificates of compliance or certificates of completion for both of them. And that's part of the scope with the design engineer Williams Asparagus, and Rich Williams is teed up, and he said as soon as the path is in, he'll come out, do an as-built, and he'll do the project goes out paperwork. So
those paths will go in before in the next week or two.
that's the goal.
Yeah, because July 6th, you have to have those in to do the
Right.
bill. Okay, that's
Right.
great.
Yeah, that's the goal. But that's another one where we're not gonna put a formal opening out until it's done, because, weather, they're in a World Cup, and there's other variables that ricochet in ways that you might not predict. Let's see, next item, the Mill Pond Dock. I think the hearing, the opening of the hearing went very well on Monday. The Comcom continued that to July 6th, and it looks like it's on track to get that approved. So assuming that is approved, that the appeals period would pass, and Brian would be in a position to get that work done starting toward the end of July. That's to install a gang ready to connect to the Docker about having to walk through the resource area. The invasive species contractor was out on site last week. Butch had him doing a bunch of work. He did the knotweed treatment at the Pipestave crossing. He did a little at the recycling center in Pipestave. He did some work on middle at Chase, I think, and a couple of other locations. He hasn't yet done the major portion for the middle parking lot at Mill Pond because it was too unruly, so he told Butch if Butch's team could cut it down, basically, 3 times over the summer, that he would come in mid-August to do that initial treatment.
Knotweed?
The knotweed.
That's all.
Yeah. So the contractor, that's turned into a really great working relationship. It's, Butch is kind of directing that work, and better yet, we had the invasive land stewards were able to observe some of the work when Brian Collin was out on site. So that was a nice little supplement to the onboarding we've been doing with them. And a number of volunteers have, I think, done a terrific job with bringing on the land stewards. They've been here the last 2 weeks, and as you can see from the materials in the packet, they had a very rigorous training. I know we actually have Patricia here. I don't know if I haven't been part of the training, so I don't know if you want to hear more about that, but everything going well?
Yeah.
Reasonably? Good. So. And then this next item I just put in as a verbal update. It's not for nothing that's before you, but in anticipation, we don't know what's going to come out of the org assessment, but with the there has been a thought for some time that we need more real estate in terms of office space, not more than we have, but just in terms of configuration. So I am working with finance administration staff. We've scoped out a few different options on potential changes, namely, with the treasurer collector occupying a large office, that's really an office designed for 2 people. So if we were to make some changes, it would affect multiple departments. So I do have something put together on that. It's not something I was, going to share tonight, but I want to let you know that's something we're working on. I'm happy to go into more details offline before we go too far with that. We wouldn't be intending to make any changes in the near term, but I think it would make sense to sketch out what layout would make sense under different scenarios, and that way, once the org assessment is complete, things can move pretty quickly to actually implement that. Because and I don't want to get into speculating on what that might be, but
So, it seems like it would be good to have that done before we leave, rather than leave it for the meeting.
right, and that's what you and I have talked about. And I do have 3 different physical scenarios I've worked out, and I think they all have pros and cons. And so, if you'd like, I could, present that to the board next week, or we could just take it offline and talk it over. But I do think there's if the staffing was to stay exactly as is, I think it works well. But if there's to be any change, including whether that's restoring, a position that is not currently filled, or whether that's some new position instead of that, there would be a need for an additional workspace, and there are multiple scenarios that could accommodate that, that I think could work well. No, I just didn't want to kind of continue. I've been brief Wendy on it a bit, but I didn't want to go too far on that without just letting the board know that is an issue that's on the table that we're looking at.
I'll leave it to you and
Well, it's up to Angus.
Yeah.
But
right.
And then next, I know I shared this email when it came out, several weeks ago, but there are 2 earmarks in the draft state budget. And if those survive the budget process, those it's typically several months after the approval of the budget before those are actually contractually obligated between the Commonwealth and the town. Last year's earmark, I think we learned about it officially in July. We knew it was coming, but it didn't become official for July. And it was not actually under contract with the Commonwealth until early 2026, even though we were pushing it right along. Just because it takes a lot of time for them to move, and then we can't obligate the funds until they're under contract with the state. So one of those is broadly written for kind of roadway safety, so that's something that could be as general as a guardrail or, you know, like a chapter 90 supplemental funding, or it could be something more targeted towards something that you might choose when the time comes. And then the other is in anticipation of the new ADA requirements on the website. We don't have any consultant support lined up for that, but if those requirements take effect as written in, you know, February of 2028, that is going to take hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of staff time. We don't have consultant support, so hopefully, you know, the $20,000 earmark would allow the town to, you know, bring everything into compliance without completely, you know, torpedoing all of our staff's time. As we've talked about at prior meetings, that those mandates are quite. And then finally, I just included in the packet, update on work plan items, so if there's anything on that you want to discuss. I do have a couple of other just miscellaneous things that we've done in the last week or two. There were some repairs needed to the harbor master boat, so we've got those done. We were actually able to secure a small amount of additional funds from our Clean Vessel Act grant to offset the cost of that, which was a plus. We're working on with Jonathan at Pentucket on some gate school elevator repairs. And thankfully we have the article that was appropriated, because that's about $11,500. And we also have gotten the final proposal for the Page Gym floor repairs, which, as you know, is an insurance claim, so don't be frightened of the number, but it's $153,000. So we're working with Pentucket on both of those issues.
Right.
This is why, Barry, I limit my time. This is
So,
every 5 minutes is quite
No, you,
heavily utilized.
so do you, this is updated with redlining, are you, or?
Just really
Are
show
you
you,
doing that?
if that's helpful,
It is,
great.
I think it is.
If that helps, you
That's
guys kind of keep your.
That's work, but.
But
does
it
it help you
helpful,
track?
it helps me immensely.
Good.
Yeah, this is how me and Rebecca and other core staff kind of stay the same.
And
This
it
is,
helps you.
this is
help us.
very
I
helpful.
mean, great.
Yeah.
Seeing
Yeah,
that.
this helps us stay on point.
Good, thanks.
I have one question on the work plan update that I highlighted, and it goes back to the Page crossing.
Yep,
I don't know if we could discuss in the meeting enough, the amendments to the contract.
yeah,
Is that because of the status of the contract is,
financial health,
okay,
yeah,
we'll leave it at that, see where it goes.
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's what we've got.
All right, move on to action items. Item A is a request for approval of special permits for the Western Riding and Driving Club. Yeah. Any questions from the board? I see you provided new maps.
Yes,
Yeah,
of course, these are the same events that we put on for 40 years on top of Pipe Stage. But I included a map of the route that the highest level equestrians will be riding. That's the only one that goes into the edge of the backfield. The rest are all taking place in and around the rings and in the middle and lower jump fields. Parking, I provided you a map that shows that spectators are asked to park cars in the Page School lot. We don't get many. And some of our volunteers also park over there. The long horse trailers park along both sides of the driveway coming in and across the very back of the pipe stable lot. Our usual 2 horse trailers, I line up as tight as I can facing the rings, and every year these events get a little smaller, so I don't think that there's any conflict. The only possible conflict is that the lower parking lot needs to be closed off for the couple of hours that the cross-country riders are doing warm-up down next to that in the lower field, the area that we sort of call the butterfly field. The front corner of that is where we've set up a couple of jumps and the riders can sort of get warmed up there before they take off on the east side of the lower field is the beginning of, I think, all the routes this year.
That's not in the application, right?
I put on a warm-up area on your map.
No, I mean, but we need to coordinate closure though, that should be on the application, just so.
We don't run into the issue where the man last year took offense that he couldn't have his dogs there for the couple of hours we were there.
So what was the time?
From 9 in the morning until noon.
This- Is this the one that says start time 6:30 AM? or-
Yes, I get there at 6:30 and start parking trailers. The first horses go off at 8, but the first horses are doing dressage before they do cross country. So cross country generally starts at 9. And as of yesterday, we only had 3 cross country riders even lined up, so it might be a smaller window than that, but yeah, just you know, most anybody who arrives down there and said, and is told there's an event going on, has the courtesy to say, oh, we'll be back later, but this one gentleman, the last year called the cops.
So which parking lot are you planning on, how will you do it, with homes and?
Yeah, we have cones and, I've spoken to Michael even today. This is a cross-country warm-up area. This is the parking lot that you go through to get down to Mill Pond. So we're not doing anything in Mill Pond, but we would appreciate not having any cars parked.
Oh, just in that area?
Yeah,
Okay, so do you have signage or how are you?
we've got signs and
drivers-
a volunteer, courteous volunteer.
Okay.
And
and
dissuade people from parking there.
Chief Dwyer's aware of this?
He is,
Okay. Of the no parking issue? Specific?
yes.
Okay. All right, any questions from either of you on this yet?
No, on both of them, any other events occurring?
Yes, I've got all the dates on here.
No, other
No,
non.
June 28th and June 30th, to be specific. Are there any other events, baseball, lacrosse, soccer, anything else at Pike State on those days?
No,
And I guess my other question would be when you submit the maps. I don't want there to be any misunderstanding, we're only approving for the June 28th and 30th, not the July 14th, 28th, August 11th, and October 4th.
I think it's a waste of your time to deal with it separately. It's exactly the same
Well, then we'll put them
MO.
all on one application, but they're only on the map with the dates, is what I'm saying, they're not on applications.
I filled out the applications last November for all of these events.
But they're individual applications, I think that's what he's saying, right? Did you do individual applications for each one? Or do you remember?
I probably typed the same thing up 4 times and changed the date on them and submitted them.
So something like this going forward, you can just do one application, list all the dates, as long as all the details are the same, and there's that new form that we developed. So
Good.
it should be much easier going forward, so.
This was a very arduous process using the, what did he call them? Max call them legacy forms.
Yeah.
But if you've got new forms now that work, that's fine. But I do need to come back now for those August dates.
I don't believe you have.
Where are
to,
you
but
seeing those other dates?
On the map,
Just on the
Oh,
side of the map, not on the application.
Application.
Just saying, there's no endorsement of it because they're on a map, so there are 2 applications for the 28th.
Well, I
and 30th.
submitted all the applications at some point, Chris. But.
To Amanda. You're saying Amanda has separate applications for each of the dates,
I don't know if she still has them. I
She
filled
does.
them out. Okay.
but just these 2 made into the.
because of their
Package.
imminent, we wanted to get these done because they're coming up, so.
I have been here before to try to get them all approved earlier, but
I wouldn't mind deferring till next week to see the others in the package that have the sign offs from the other boards and Amanda's final sign off.
The applications aren't any different than what's in here tonight.
So you're saying that, for example, when it gets down to the bottom, where it's approved by the fire, everybody's approving it and all the applications have the sign offs, no concerns from,
I
all
spoke
the
to.
forms have that same stuff?
Yes,
You've seen that.
I have not seen it, but that's how we're doing it now, so this checklist has everything in there. I don't know that Amanda's done this list for all the other applications. yet.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
I'd like to see those with all
We're not
that.
gonna approve these two tonight, though.
Yeah,
Okay.
I heard Deb asking, why not do them all, but
Yeah.
why are you doing these two? But we'd like to see the actual application in the package. Before we approve.
Okay, I think they're already here, but I'll do them again.
Yeah.
So have you seen the
No.
checklist that Amanda goes through? It's a 5-page document. She checks with every department who signed off, so that's part of it. It's not just the application being filled out. So she's doing her due diligence on behalf of the select.
Yeah, there's an internal review checklist attached to each one.
Yeah, well, she's been in contact with me several times, so I think if haven't seen that list, she has discussed it all with me. And I did, when I talked to Mike Dwyer today, he said to tell you that he was good with these things.
Okay,
And getting an EMT there and getting the funds and the barriers so that we can block off the parking lot, that sort of thing.
all right.
Make a motion to approve the West Newbury Riding and Driving Club special event permits for June 28th and June 30th as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, the next item is reappointment of board commission committee members for FY 27. Thank you all for making the effort to be here. I know this is not the typical process that we've followed in the past. I think this is part of the select board's attempt to try to engage committees and make sure we're all working in alignment. You know, some of the things we've done over the last 3 or 4 years is the questionnaire about your priorities, what you're working on, excuse me. We've also appointing liaisons to the committees. And as you know, we have an organizational assessment going on right now. One of their tasks is to evaluate our committee structure. The first thing they said to us is you have way too many committees, so, you know, that's something that we're working on, you know, potentially we could combine committees, some committees hardly ever meet, we may eliminate those, so. This is all a work in progress, and so we thought it was good to at least have people come in and talk to us if they want to be reappointed. Any comments either of you want to make before we move on?
Make an overarching broad comment. I bring something up, it's too long-winded, so I'll try and condense it. This past year and a half, I've found it's been very frustrating working with some of the boards and committees, which the select board appoints. Because these committees are intended to work in concert with the select board to accomplish the projects and programs for the town. We have some committees, I'm not gonna specify, I think they know who they are, nobody else might. But they go off and they do their own thing and their own agendas. And it becomes very ineffective and wastes a lot of time, both for the committees, for the town employees and for the select board. It's been very frustrating to have to walk back a number of these issues. So the select board had a meeting, a week and a half ago to talk about how to move forward with the appointments, and I don't know if we ended up at any definitive endpoint. The way I saw it, there were the 3 options. The first one, I strongly believe that some of these committees should be eliminated. And I think some of the committees should be consolidated. But that's not what I'm looking at tonight, because as Wendy said, I think we have to wait for the operational assessment. And then another option, which is not unreasonable, would be to not renew some of the appointments. So I'll see what you and Barry have to say after that, but I'll ultimately wait till the operational assessment is done. And I suspect we'll be in line with some of them and probably off a little. So rather than say, let's eliminate a committee, find out they think it should be maybe dealt with differently. The other thing we talked about at our last meeting, and I think it has to get done for every committee, is, and some have and some don't, but to come up with a mission statement, which is specific to the committee and how they operate, and then to come up with a charge, which is how they accomplish their mission statement, and spell it out, whether it's bullet points or verbiage or whatever. So we can all get together and be moving in the same direction, because I feel like it's been very, very fractured. Everybody's pulling in the wrong direction, everybody's pulling hard and trying to do good work, but if we don't do it together, it's gonna be wasteful.
Yeah, I think a lot of the so-called charges are just MGLs or bylaws. They're not really specific to what the select board is looking for from them or what the town priorities are, so.
Being new to it and just catching up with this, my take for the moment is, you know, again, some committees and boards are required by state law. Some are required by town bylaw, others are creatures of the select board, creations of the select board. And I do think it's worth waiting for the operational assessment to decide which, particularly the ones that are creatures of the creations of the town select board, to see whether they should be eliminated, reduced in size, condensed with others that have overlapping missions. And then in that process also decide, as Chris pointed out, sort of how to identify the mission specifically with charges. I think that's a good step. I happen to also think that having experienced the work of all these different boards, I'm not in any position to determine whether someone should be on or off. If they want to serve, I think for the moment we should reappoint them and revisit the membership makeup in that other process.
Yeah, agreed. In the past, it's been more of a challenge to just chase people down and get their form or find out if they want to run event, so. Reappointed. So
Yeah.
I think Amanda did a really nice job developing a process, getting a form and, you know, engaging, as you could see by the number of people here tonight, so.
Yeah.
All right, so I think what I would propose doing is just go through each one, and if we have questions of the person or comments, we can entertain those. Anyways, do you think we need to make individual appointments, or can we just appoint?
I don't think so. I think you could
Okay.
do a single motion after you've reviewed everything.
So the Affordable Housing Trust, also Francisconi, so this says 6/30/2026. That's not correct, right? It's a 3-year appointment.
I didn't put together this part of the agenda.
Just look that up. Pretty sure that's a 3-year.
I can look up the
You
bylaws.
said 2 year or 3 year?
I believe it's a 3-year term.
Well, it says it says 2 years on the form here, so I don't know what Amanda checked it. You see right under the Affordable Housing Trust Committee, it says term 2 years.
Where are you looking?
At the top of the-
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure why it's 2 years. There were staggered appointments. You know, maybe that's why initially when it was first formed.
Or we could appoint for, you're checking that.
Yeah. Shall be a term of 2 years, except that 3 of the initial shall be for a term of 1 year. So, yeah, you're in the
Okay, it's 2
bylaw.
years.
Yeah, it is 2 years. Yeah.
All right, so then this would be till 2028 instead of 2026.
Well, this says it's due to expire on 6/30/2026, so that means it will be an appointment until.
But it looks like all the other dates on the agenda list the term ending date except
Oh.
this one, so that's,
You mean the new appointment date?
yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right, any questions for Elsa or about the trust? Barry, could you?
Nope.
All right. Bandstand coordinator, Charlie Caruso, who's not able to be here tonight. That appointment goes through 2027. Any questions about that?
Oh, I see. So all of these had the date.
Yeah.
This year's date, but that's a. Why is that just to 2027?
But each committee has a different appointment.
So this one is 1 year?
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
Climate Change Resiliency Committee, we have Brendan Afork, Chip Wallace, Rick Parker, and Michael Dacey. These are all 1-year appointments. That's how the committee was established. Any questions for any of them?
Yeah, we were discussing last night at the CCRC meeting, wondering why that committee is a 1 year and the Energy Sustainability Committee is a 3 year.
I believe that energy is also.
Okay, the form that I received said 3 years.
I think that's
Or
a
Energy
mistake.
Sustainability.
I saw that on the agenda and
Okay,
checked the website and now it says.
okay.
So all the climate change are on there.
Yeah, and the energy sustainability team as well. Hey, any other, anybody wanna say? I mean, if you wanna talk, you're welcome to.
we're just trying to understand why there was a difference, and, if, you know, if the pleasure of the board is to have it 1 year, then that's fine, and if that's what's established, it came up in conversation,
Yeah.
we were wondering why.
Okay, Council on Aging, Bob Gator and Barbara Warren, this is a 3-year appointment. Okay. Energy Committee, Chip Wallace, Elisa Grammer, Karsten Bennett, and Parker. And that is listed as a 1-year appointment on the agenda. Memorial Day Parade, Ilya Zitsev, 1-year appointment. Okay, Yopon Committee. So this I'm not clear on, I don't know if these are both full members or associate members. So you. Nate Pierce and Fiona. There's one member who's not, being reappointed, and both of these are associate members right now.
So someone who said I don't wish to,
Yes. All the names, water,
After 30 years.
so see Nate and Yana are both associates, so,
Yeah.
So
was
when
the
I-
idea to appoint one of them has either been an associate longer than the other?
no, they're not being,
Is either of them here?
oh, actually,
Yes,
Nate is
yeah,
on.
Nate's on.
I'm on Zoom.
Hey, Nate, how are you?
Good, how are you? I've previously been a board member 20 years ago, if that helps in any manner.
You just show up.
And you're here, so.
That's right, and you're here. Hey. Good.
Suggestion to make them obviously the full board member, but I don't know, some associate.
Okay. Good. Open Space Committee, Patricia Research.
Wait, just, I wanna make sure I follow, so I'm seeing other, full members whose terms, according to the website, and June 30 are.
I'm assuming they're on next week.
Okay,
They may not
Yeah, they
be.
may be next group.
right, so is what's before you for Nate and Iona as associate or as full? I just wanna make sure I have it clear in my notes.
We just discussed having Nate become full.
Okay.
To fill the full spot that the person didn't want to be. Whose spot was it? Who was it?
Okay,
All the way.
So the only one on this list that would not be up for appointment, not here tonight, would be Jen Costain, right?
Mhm.
As she submitted an application.
Yeah, she's on for next week.
But the intention was to bring all of one committee in.
Well, ideally, yes, but not everybody can come on some nights.
Does that, I can't read, the zip say 2028 or 2026?
26.
So there's another one that's this year. Also next week?
I assume so.
I see, Amanda's in Vermont and she's handling all of this, so I don't have direct visibility of that.
So, yeah, do you wanna,
If it helps, Amanda gave options of tonight or next week, if that helps in any manner.
yeah,
So we'll wait and see.
on the other two?
Yeah.
Are we good with?
Do you want to hold,
I'm gonna name it the phone, he's on the phone, I think at first.
do you want to hold Iona off as being reappointed as associate to see if one of those others was a yes or might have been a no?
I don't believe they are. I was
Oh.
at their meeting, the last meeting.
There you go, okay.
I mean, that was changed.
Yeah,
Just that's changed.
all right.
Do it now.
Okay, Open Space Committee, Patricia, I noticed in your application, you said you prefer associate member, is that, yes? So then that will leave the full member. Open. Okay,
Yeah, I think it might be easier to find somebody to fill a full member than an associate member. And, I also recently joined the board of Greenbelt, and I'm not sure how much time it's gonna take. So associate member would be easy to replace. Next to.
well, you've been on there a long time, so appreciate your contributions. Zoning Board of Appeals, Patrick Higgins, who I think is, yeah. So that's also a 3-year. Any questions for him? Okay, so are you clear on the?
Yeah.
Do you want to make a motion? Chris,
Make a motion to reappoint all the members who have submitted the application to tonight's meeting With the one qualification, no bond when they be the full member and the other the associate.
And Patricia doesn't.
And Patricia is the associate in open space.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you everybody for coming.
Yeah,
Like
you're welcome.
today. No obligation.
That's a lot.
10 minutes.
You're welcome to stay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you, thank you.
Mr. Fogel? Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, yeah, hey, that's good. Yeah, oh, yeah, definitely. Thank you. You're not too far, so. Yeah.
Okay, item C is a request to extend, are we just doing these two members, Angus, or should we extend all members? Or is that?
I think these are the only two that, the terms that end.
I just think in general, this is better.
Oh, I think we should do it in I think the standing term ought to be the July 15th for future reappointments.
Okay, so is that a bylaw change?
No, it's not in the bylaw, it doesn't prescribe the duration of office, but we're,
I just have to make sure the future on the,
Can't we just do it now?
you could, yeah, we haven't asked, Dan and Brian, and,
You know, they're
yeah,
approved.
but it's a year, they'll have a year to.
That was each other, not.
So, but yeah, I think, and just for those listening, with FinCom, where the statutory deadline to close out the fiscal year is July 15th of the subsequent year. It makes, and there's always some year-end closeout business, typically a meeting in the first half of July. It makes a lot of sense for continuity to keep those FinCom members through to July 15th, and both of the members with expiring terms have agreed to an extension July 15th if so approved.
so wouldn't it be better to do July 16th, so that they could have a meeting on the 15th theoretically?
I think, yeah, sure.
So I'll make a motion to extend FinCom appointments for Dennis and Gary to July 16th of 2026. And for the remaining FinCom members to the 16th of July in the years which their current terms expire. And for this process to be followed going forward.
Beautiful.
Second, with a question.
Mhm.
So do we have new people who want to fill those spots?
No.
No.
We did have someone approach us this spring with interest. And so I know that Rebecca and or Amanda have that person's information, so.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So they will be operating with 1, 2, 3 people?
Well, through July 16th, they'll now
They'll have
have.
both, but after July 16th.
There will be,
they'll down to
there,
3.
they'd be down two, so that's where we would, contact the person who previously expressed, he actually went so far as to submit a form. But I can't honestly remember if it was someone who might have been interested in multiple committees and may have been otherwise appointed. Rebecca's gonna know
Oh.
that, I remember talking with the gentleman,
Is
he's
that
been very
Reed
nice,
Malik?
this was probably 3 or 4 months
Did you
ago.
read Malik? He said something about,
I don't wanna trust my memory of that,
he
but,
said something about that at the time.
yeah, and then we would put a call out.
And do they have anything to do that's immediate that we would be?
Just the line item transfers, but I do think
After that.
getting it constituted really immediately after that would be a plus, so.
How would we get the word out that?
Just we'd send something out to, to the website, but I think word of mouth is always
You
great.
stand outside the food barn on Sunday morning with a sign.
Yeah, and
Maybe FinCom members.
everybody runs away and the food part will be angry.
I'm thinking of somebody else that was here a while ago. That resigned and maybe applied for something at that level.
Mhm.
We'll talk to him.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
okay.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
They did make it for the 16th, just
Yeah.
Yep,
they
makes
agreed.
sense.
Good.
Okay, next item is, this is draft policy. So we talked about this at the last meeting, just about how to manage meetings in terms of participation of the public. I drafted this and I added some stuff. My thoughts?
Now, okay, so you said draft policy, but yet it's under action items.
Well, I'm asking you to approve it.
Right, but it's again, being the wise, not the wise guy, but push them. This is one of those things where it's the first time we see it, we gotta approve it.
But we discussed it at the last meeting. If you don't feel comfortable voting, we can wait.
No, but we didn't have a format, did we? This,
No, we discussed doing it, so I'm asking you, there's not really anything to discuss other than if you have edits for the policy.
No, I thought it was fine.
Anything you wanna change or?
It's just typically they go on discussion, then they come back for action. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
No, I read it, I thought that it was clear and concise and correct. I liked the part frankly about public comment limited to 2 minutes unless extended by the chair or by a majority. I mean, there are instances where 2 minutes might be too short, so.
Yeah.
That, I was waiting for that sentence, and when I found it, I was fine with everything else, so. If,
She's, as long as I've been here, she's never cut anybody off.
No.
There has been some that have gone well over the 2
I'm
minutes.
just sort of imagining a parallel universe where you're the chair.
I'm not sure what's gonna happen, but we're
But are you ready to take action, or are we deferring this for a week while you study it?
make a motion to approve the policies of the West Newbury Select Board meeting participation as presented.
Second.
Angus, did you have any comments on it?
No, I mean, I had included the excerpt from, no, I didn't have any changes and I think it's largely consistent. I think it's nice to kind of replicate that.
It was helpful to see the open meeting.
Yeah, it just gives some context, so I thought it was good.
Before we go, I'll say that new select board member training session that Mass Municipal operated, they were talking about policies like this. And one of the people who in attendance asked the question about what can we put something in our policy about being able to stop certain types of speech, hate speech? In fact, counsel who was there said no.
You absolutely can't. There was a major SJC case, it was 2 summers ago, I think. But we had included it in the board packet at the time and provided the planning board chair and others because it's crystal clear in the case, you cannot regulate the content of speech.
Yeah, right.
So that's where it does become important to have those time parameters, because if someone does, anyway, it's.
Yeah. So you can go to that. Okay.
You can cut somebody off if they're out of control, no?
From a behavioral standpoint, from a. like,
Right, but
threatening
not
or
from the
physical
content of speech.
standpoint, if they're peacefully saying terrible things, they're allowed to.
Yeah, you can impose reasonable limits.
Yeah, no, I get that too, but those don't usually run the same parallel path, usually
Right.
But that is where, when that case came down from the SJC, there was, KP Law did a briefing on it, and their advice was, reiterated that a public meeting does not equal a public hearing. There is no requirement to allow comment other than a public hearing, and that if you do allow comment in a public meeting, to have time parameters, because you cannot regulate comment.
Good.
So just to my point again, we've been told in the past, I asked about the agenda I was put together. So you can do it this way, which I find preferable, because if we had to think about it, we could bring it back next week, but now we don't have to, so you've accelerated the schedule.
Well, we discussed it last week, the
We
point of
discussed the
having,
concept, we didn't have anything written.
right, but I think the point of having a discussion is to introduce the concept and make sure everybody's on board.
Well, and Chris, you could have, if you had not wanted to vote, you might have moved it from action.
Well, I'm saying, I would rather see more things on the action items rather than
Oh, you like,
discussion.
yes.
Yeah, almost. There's an awful lot of items that are very, I don't say insignificant, but very condensed. That can be dealt with
Simply.
like this, they have to, sometimes they come back 2 or 3 times. We've had a couple of times when I wanted to make a motion on something, said you can't, because it's not an action item.
But we also have had situations where it's been on an action item and you didn't have any background on it. And so you didn't want to vote on it that night.
Yeah. It's not-
So then we should just not have discussion items, we just have all action items and not.
Or action/discussion, you decide at the time what's appropriate based on the information available.
Well, I like having a discussion category where there's no action and anticipate, sort of separates them that way. I think that works.
Yeah, I think it's also, my opinion is that I like it how it is and with the discussion action, because I think that gives a clear signal to the people following the agenda that, okay, they're gonna discuss it, but it's not expected to be voted on. Which I think gives the board some freedom to have the discussions you need to have. Without because when people think it's a vote, it just creates pressure, and this allows you to have discussion and bring it forward for action when you're ready.
But I will keep that in mind, Chris, and I think it's very straightforward and just put it on, right, as an action item. All right, the next item is the animal control IMA with Newbury Port. Questions on this, Barry, especially since you haven't seen it before?
Nine support that.
Okay.
Did we vote the last one? You don't make the motion.
Yes, we
Did we vote it?
Oh, I didn't write down a vote on the policy.
All in favor?
on the pot, there was a motion and a second.
There was a motion and a second, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, on animal control.
Did you vote?
Did you vote aye?
I said,
Okay.
why are we looking at just 1 year? Is that them or that's us?
It's, so that change was, it used to be a 3-year. And then last year, there was discussion with this board as to whether, this was the best opportunity for the town to pay, to provide the service. And so the decision was made in spring of 2015 to only do it for 1 year. So that then became kind of the template, which, we brought forward again this year. We updated the number. I think at a staff level, myself and Dwyer and Jenny are very comfortable with how it works. We're comfortable with level of service. We are aware there's, some number of people in the community who would like a higher level of service, more, so I think 1 year gives the town, more ability to look at that. But the other challenge, that I think, administratively, multi-year would be better. And I know the mayor feels the same way because it's just something that we have to do every year. But the budgeting does become challenging when you're getting into multiple years. Because, the city doesn't have, their FY 28 budget and, among other variables, like, our share of health insurance and so forth, there are also union positions subject to collective bargaining. So, I think if we were interested in doing something beyond FY 27, I think I know the city would be, but they might need to build more contingency into their budgeting because their numbers aren't gonna be as precise.
So why did the assistant go down? Are they like fewer hours?
It was based on actual utilization. So back in the budget season in January, February, Jenny and I had a number of working meetings with Newbury Port, and she had gotten from them detailed backup of all of their actual expenditures. And there was some back and forth that we did to get the number down to where we brought in the budget. And I think part of that was their actual utilization of that position was lower than what they were carrying, and we were able to point out and say, hey, you're not actually using it that much. So there was a reason, good amount of back and forth, but that was 3 or 4 months ago, so I don't remember the details, but I do remember being, once again, very impressed with our town accountant and just how, stringent she is. She sweats every detail as you would expect from the town accountant.
So another question too, Newbury, West Newbury provides the vehicle, we have credit for that.
We do,
The vehicle's getting old in the tooth, I'm pretty sure.
it is,
So we're gonna have to look at that at some point,
at
because
some point.
cost becomes incurred, whether we own it or we share it, but then the credit goes away, so our number's gonna go up at some point by roughly the $8,000 a year in the near future.
Right, there have been 2 vehicles since I've been here, including the current one, and both were former cruisers. So that worked out well rather than buying a new vehicle. Although actually, I could be wrong on that, because one of them was totaled at one point and we did an insurance claim, and so we might have gotten a new vehicle because of the insurance. But that is, I don't think that's an imminent issue, but it is something that will come up from time to time. Because it is part of the deal and part of why we get the terms we get that would provide the vehicle.
So yeah, getting the credit for 7,800, that's what if we have to get a vehicle, we have to buy it, or there's gonna be an equation that's gonna
Yes,
change the formula at some point, it's gonna make the number look like it's spiked, but it really won't.
yeah,
So are we paying for the vehicle insurance as well?
we are,
Who negotiates the union contract for the ACO?
the city.
City does?
Yeah.
We have no, is it part of the particular other group union, or is it? What union is the animal control officer in?
I think it's its own bargaining unit. But I'm not sure though, because there's only two people. No, it's gotta be part of
Some other,
some other,
okay. I mean, they said it's estimated based on the contract that's ending this month.
mhm.
And we're 40-60. Is it, do you know, has it always been that allocation?
Now, that was looked at really closely the first time this came up for renewal, which I believe was my first year here, fiscal 19. Jenny wasn't with us, she wasn't working here yet, so I forget who I was working with on that, but I remember we did a lot of analysis on our side, the city did their analysis, we looked at a number of variables, including land area, number of call frequency, vehicle miles. We looked at how many like barn inspections, because that's one of the functions they perform. We looked at a lot of different metrics and tried to come up with something that was rational. It was, you could argue it every which way,
Yeah.
and the percentage has changed marginally within the time. I think it's been anywhere from like 35, 65 to like 60-40, and it's
It's in that range though.
in the 8 years I've been here, yeah. Before I got here, there was not like a base. I think I was working with Wayne on it, actually. No, yeah, I think I was working with Wayne. Because we were trying to come up with something objective. And since that time, especially in the last 2 to 3 years, we've gotten much better data on the frequency of calls. Because that's part of what we had put in, was that they would track that and report that, so we would have actual data rather than anecdotal, which the first couple of years they were, kind of anecdotally had an idea of how often.
I know we have a lot to get to, but I'm just curious also, do we know what Newbury and Groveland do, like Georgetown?
Yeah, I've looked at, not with all of those, but I know, for instance, Groveland, unless it changed in the last couple of months, the last time I talked to Rebecca Holden about this topic, I believe that is a designation that one of their police officers has, or a firefighter, or one of their public safety full-time people, and that person gets additional compensation for that. So there's different ways to do it.
Yeah.
There's definitely different ways to do it, and this predated me. We've definitely kind of refined it since I've been here, and I think we've improved it since I've been here, but we haven't tipped over the apple cart and started from scratch.
I think it's a pretty good value though for what you get.
I think
That's
it
what people
is.
complain.
From where I sit, it is, but it's a level of service issue.
Yeah.
So Chris, would you be in favor of a 3-year contract?
I think it'd be, again, just keep the same 40% construct rather than identifying the dollars, and
So maybe that for the next, we should.
it's as simple as talking to the mayor, say, would you be
Yeah.
interested in 3 years?
Mhm.
I don't have to read through the whole process, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it is the kind of thing that between this and the harbor master, it's definitely something in my office that we keep track of, and. I think with the change coming in, new manager, I think the more things you can kind of at least have not be.
Let's nail down for 3 years, we don't have to, if we wanna deal with it, we got 3 years to address it,
Yeah.
otherwise we're already behind the gun on it for next year.
Yes, it takes quite a while to put these arrangements together.
So you're talking about for next year though, not for this,
I'd be happy to do it right now, if you can say to the mayor,
all right?
can we do 3 years on the contract, are you happy with that? I'll be very happy.
But we'd want to have some kind of parameter on, cost escalation year 2 and 3, not exceeding a certain percentage or something.
But they're cognizant of that as well, they don't want their costs going up either, so we only own 40% of
That's,
anything they do, so they have more to lose than we do.
that's true.
So I
That's a good point, yeah.
and. I think there's a get out of jail clause in you too, if you don't like it, isn't there?
Yeah, you can cancel, I think is it 90 days?
Yeah, so. They come to you next year and say, I want up $50,000, that means their share's gonna go up even more.
Yep.
Which I can't foresee that being palatable to them, but you could then terminate your contract.
It still would be helpful, even if the city's prepared to go to a 3-year, to put some. Who's negotiating this directly, you or? To put something in about so many days before the end of the fiscal year, seeing a proposed program cost and budget for the next year
Yeah.
of the second and third years. As
I
opposed
didn't want to
to,
get that complex, now you're gonna start rewriting language.
I don't see it, well, I mean,
Well, we have,
one more thought.
is this what this language here, the February first,
Oh, we here,
we had put this in a couple of cycles ago because that was a consistent issue we were running into since the city doesn't adopt its budget till typically June.
Article 5.
And they're not really thinking about next year's budget when we need the number, so we did put in this language. We've held them to that. This year, I know we had to press them for that. We've kind of had to really push to get the meeting because to them it was like the furthest thing from their
Oh, there
mind.
you go.
We
It's
needed,
already in.
yeah, we needed
So that's
that.
good,
Yep.
Mary?
No, that does it.
Okay.
Yep.
So I just had a question, if the union negotiation is still underway, do you have any information on terms out there?
No, I don't, but I do know that, you know, we confirmed with them that the number we carried in the budget was something that was going to be sufficient for FY 27.
Right.
So basically, you're just taking Article 3 and changing 1 year to 3.
We'll make a motion to approve the contract, the animal control officer with Newburyport for the 1 year pending, we can get an approval for a 3 year, the city, so that we can have both ways.
That works well, just in case this is in parallel going to the city council, because I know the mayor's looking to get this done by the end of June this fall.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the next item, our request to approve proposed locations for the Meva bus stop signage, so,
So I thought
what's that?
that was pulled off the
Yeah,
agenda.
so we're gonna, defer this until next week, the Meva representative will be here to talk. These are possible locations that are in the packet, but they have identified 5, but they are recommending, so we'll talk specifically.
And I actually received that late this afternoon, so I can send that around either tonight or in the morning, you'll have that in your packet for next week. And, it sounds like the meeting rep is also, gonna be able to attend Tuesday's, Route 113 workshop, which is a plus.
Right. Okay, item G is review of the Ash Street traffic control plan. And if we want to make any changes to it to resubmit to National Heritage. So I think where we ended up after the last meeting where we discussed closing it was, let's try to make what we have placed here work better. And if you read through it, there are some things we've done and some things that have not been done consistently, so. I think if we start on the roadway resurfacing number 2.
Before we dive in, can I clarify, this is specific to the management for the Blandings Turtle. The natural heritage, that's the focus of their interest, correct?
That was at this time.
Yeah, so this plan we're looking at was about managing Ash Street for that purpose and that.
However, there were people from other agencies present who had other concerns about wildlife. This was a whole big group of people that met and. Yeah,
So the premise is that, I mean, it says seasonal measures to reduce vehicle speeds for the purpose of reducing potential for road mortality for the Blandings Turtle, that's.
yeah, so this is a filing with Natural Heritage,
Right.
yeah.
And then. This was the boards to them, and then the response back from Natural Heritage was to this. But did it incorporate? I'll call it elements for other. Wildlife protection? No, okay, I just wanna make that clear for the record that
Yeah,
the items that Natural Heritage was speaking to was for the turtles.
right.
Okay.
Right.
Sorry,
No, that's fine. So in terms of the resurfacing, this is a joint decision made by the highway superintendent and the police chief. My concern is that the criteria of whether it's hazardous to vehicular travel is not well defined. So, I don't necessarily want a member of the select board to also be part of this decision, but I would like to know what criteria they're gonna use to determine that it's hazardous. I did talk to Chief Dwyer about this today. He didn't have anything off the top of his head, but I did some research on DOT and other states that, if you have a normally, gravel road or uneven terrain, how you can determine when it's a true safety hazard. So, one of them is just undercarriage clearance issues. So if you have a kind of low car and you're gonna bottom out at the top, steering and tracking loss, if the ruts are going in the direction of travel, you could get pulled off course. Obviously ponding and hydroplaning, and then in the winter, those ruts go with snow and ice. So I think the latter two, typically when the road surface is covered with water, that's the big close it. Until they can either clean the culverts or the water, it's a flooding condition until that abates. So those are just some ideas. I think Chief Carr would be happy to consider anything we might want to say, or do you even think it's important to have a shared understanding?
Well, last time we talked about it, we said, the little rot's not a problem.
But what is a little rat? I think
We
that.
talked last time, we said 2 to 3 foot ruts, when the cars deliberately have to slow down.
Mhm.
They seem to understand the comment, and it got left in such a condition that the ruts were, 3 feet long. The car would have to go slow. So when it forces the car to slow down, I mean, at what point does it become a hazard? You could argue a little one's a hazard, right? It becomes very subjective.
That's why I'm trying to look for some objectivity here.
But the objective is to slow traffic down. The condition, I mentioned to Wendy earlier, I was out there today. It's in really good condition, so I don't know if anything has changed. I was stunned because a week ago it was a lot worse. He said it's not been graded, but
I've cycled over it every day.
I've walked it, so.
So just for context, so we're looking at this proposal we gave to Natural Heritage. Are we trying to update it? Are
If we
trying-
need to modify it, because
We,
I think,
we need to modify.
yeah, I'm asking, do we need to modify?
Oh, do we?
Because I'm not sure, some of these things have not been done. If our intent is to slow traffic down and therefore decrease, hazards to people as well as wildlife, then I think we should make sure what we already have. in place
Yeah,
is working.
okay, so if we're parsing through it,
Yeah,
on what schedule does the superintendent and do the superintendent and police chief evaluate it to determine if it's
it
hazardous?
is not defined.
Right, so I think we would want to put in a frequency of evaluation, right? And to time that evaluation to be a certain appropriate amount of time ahead of the periods if we're gonna go beyond Blanding's turtle. But the Blanding's turtle seasonality of when they may be active, we'd want that inspection to have been done 1 week, 2 weeks before that, right?
I mean, I feel like we should do it anyway, year round, because it's also dangerous to people that are on the road. Have
Yes,
cars.
but if we say year round, what's the period of frequency? So if it's do it every 2 weeks, the worst thing would be to do it and then, the next day is when the turtles season time of year window is, and they haven't had a chance to, or they go out and grade it. It's the wrong time to do it. So there's sort of a matrix of how often are we gonna ask the superintendent and police chief to get out there and make that decision about it, does maintenance necessary?
Mhm.
And if it's every, maybe it's not every 2 weeks all year round, but it's 2 weeks during some 6-month period when the wildlife's more active than others.
I have to
Yeah.
believe Butch is out there every day. I mean, he's always on the road, so.
Well, then if you're assuming that they're out there that frequently, then the question then becomes, how often are they going to consult the conservation agent?
Well,
Right.
if Butch is out there driving and it looks bad, he picks up and calls the chief and say, take a look, what do you think? And then they could call the conservation. I don't know why it should be pretty simple.
It's not working.
Well, that's why, the point is, if this is the select board defining it, we need to put more flesh on the bones.
If you agree that that's appropriate. I feel like this is too vague. It relies on two people's opinions. They may change and, this is our plan to control traffic. I think it should be more specific.
Well, what we've got here is that this proposes that prior to doing any work with the conservation agent is consulted, but.
Once they determine that it's hazardous and they're gonna regrade it.
Right,
then-
but should the select board be in that mix, is the question.
Yeah,
Yes, they should be.
Well, who's gonna hear about it if it's graded and citizens believed that the road was actually not a hazard.
Yeah, we do, which we did.
Right, so that's why I'm thinking that for at least the near future, that I would like our, this is my opinion, I would like our board to be informed of their frequency of visits or hearing about the expectation that some maintenance is necessary before the maintenance is done, as opposed to hearing about it after the fact. Given the significant amount of public interest in protecting wildlife out there. So. And, recently, I guess I heard that at least both ends of the road might have been graded, but not the entire road. So I think us having some knowledge of what's happening and what's being proposed is not a bad thing, at least in the interim.
So you prefer to do that and try to define what's hazardous, so that we know.
Yeah, I'd like to know. This is hazardous, Chris Goings potholes this big or ruts that big is not, to me, no offense, but I don't find that to be a good metric. I'd like to know what the chief and the superintendent think is actually hazardous to safe vehicle travel. Because it's up to the point of it being unsafe that it actually slows traffic and becomes a
The
lot.
problem with safety is it's the condition of the road and the speed. So therein lies the problem, because the speed is posted at 20. I'm out there today, and this car's going 30 or 45,
Let's talk
50
about
miles
speed
an hour.
in a minute. Condition, those are the two factors, let's talk about condition. Cause the chief and the superintendent are looking at the condition saying that's unsafe at the posted speed limit. Or that's unsafe because people are speeding, which is it, right? Cause later on, we're gonna talk about the sign that says you're going to, what was that sign that's, we said we
Well,
would
flash
put in?
trailer, which has never been used out there.
We bought one, right? We didn't use it?
Alright, let's stick with this first.
No, but that, we're gonna get to the speed issue in that, so.
But at 20 miles an hour, the road does not become a safety issue, because you're going so slow.
Right.
You can drive up and through these. If you're gonna do 40 miles an hour, you're gonna say it's unsafe, but you're not doing the speed limit, so. You better enforce the speed limit if you're gonna let the road run.
Which is the third factor, which is are we gonna have police detail out there tracking traffic, at what frequency and at what cost?
Yeah.
Which gets ultimately to the question of is closure of the road appropriate for certain periods where this isn't even the issue. We don't have to worry about speed and condition and enforcement. The closure for certain windows might work, and that gets to the comment the public made last time of can we open up other roads? So that, or is it not necessary because I think it may have been Lisa who made the comment that it adds 2 minutes to public safety response and using other streets in the area. But I'd want to hear from the chief.
That 2 minutes is
Well,
pretty valuable if
I
you're laying on
want
the
to hear
floor
that. I
dying.
want to hear his opinion
Did you see the memo in here from him?
in response to that.
He thinks it absolutely has to stay over.
I apologize, I didn't out of that. Is that?
He entered it 78.
His point is 2 minutes is too
78.
long. If it's your family member having a heart attack, you don't wanna wait 2 extra minutes. So,
I understand his point. I mean, I'm sure that I wouldn't be the only one asking. There are so many things that can affect the time of response, if there's somewhere else, where are they coming from? What's in the way? Is there a vehicle or a truck in the way? Is it yada yada? So I
so,
take his point, but
so my intent for tonight is to review this traffic plan because we are obligated to be using this, so if it's not working, we either need to change it or, So you, Barry, you're saying that you think a select board member should be part of this decision between the superintendent and the chief?
well.
Are you volunteering?
Only, yes, but in the context of prior to the action being taken to maintain the road. I'd like to hear the factors that are. For us to hear the factors that are driving the decision to do the maintenance work.
And that's a report to one select board member?
If that's how you know to go about it,
We're not gonna wait and call a meeting.
No, so I'd be happy to be the contact for that.
Chris, are you okay with that?
I don't understand why it has to be this difficult, I guess. It worked for the first year very well.
So what changed?
But it's maintained too high of a level.
I think because there are differing opinions about what's a hazard. But that's what I'm trying to get at.
No, I think people got casual with it. I mean, Bush does a great job, that's the problem, he's always gonna do the best job possible. Whether they forgot that that was the deal or whatever, I don't know.
Well,
But for the
police
first-
chief was also involved, so.
Yeah. And I'm happy to speak with the two of them to sort of be ahead of time, like after tonight, to find out what the criteria they want to apply to that.
I did ask Dwyer today.
Yeah.
He said he doesn't have set criteria.
Right,
You know, but that he's interested in coming up with that.
and Butch might have some thoughts of
Yeah,
rutting and direction of ruts and side flooding and kind of, so I'm happy to pursue that.
I mean, hazardous to vehicular traffic, if it's completely covered with water, that is one thing he said, that we cannot have traffic going over it if they can't see where the road is, right? Even if it's just an inch. But then the other piece is about, damage to people's vehicles or causing them to lose control of their vehicle, which is the depth of the rut, or the width.
At the speed limit, that's not going to happen out there.
If the rut's deep enough, you can bottom out and damage the car.
I am curious about what maintenance would address flooding, I'm feeling.
So there's the culverts, there's 3 culverts
Oh.
in the center that can be periodically cleaned,
Oh,
or
that's-
sometimes in heavy rain,
that
it
should
just takes a while to abate.
No, that should be done anyway.
Well, that's.
If it's too much rain, it gets up over the culverts and they get choked out, that's just its time.
Well, no, right, so you can't, if the road floods but the culverts are clear, then you can't go through the road.
Right, you just have to wait.
You have to wait for the
Yeah.
flooding.
Which-
Okay, we're not gonna do any burning of the
No.
sides. Good, okay.
All right, so are we good with the resurfacing piece? Roadway flooding is the next, we just talked about that. The signage, these signs did go up, although I don't know that there's a detour, a truck detour sign. Do you recall, Chris? I mean, I know the weights,
It's at the appropriate place and sign is very visible that says,
but it doesn't say truck detour, right?
no,
I don't know if that makes any difference, but,
again, I haven't ever seen any enforcement on it either, so.
yeah. So the speed enforcement, I did talk to him about the trailer, the prior concern was sabotage, they bought 1 unit, they were afraid if they parked it down here, it's gonna get sabotaged, but, he said he's pursuing grants for solar ones, and his intent is to put it on poles on either end, so that it's not accessible, but that,
So, from a sabotage, is there not a way to put some, almost like the cameras that people use for wildlife,
so this is based on the fact that when they put the barricades up to close it, routinely, they get thrown in the water, if traffic cones blocking the road, get thrown in the water, and
No.
people are just looking for.
to block the road, but I mean,
I'm just saying, people take that as an invitation, and that's what's.
if it blocks passage, I'm saying the sign, the sign that, the speed warning. Someone can ignore that without having to move it.
Right, but if you are perhaps,
Well, I understand, so I'm saying that if we know that there's gonna be a hooligan. Then isn't there a way to, there's
They're all
cameras,
the
there's
soft
cameras
guys.
everywhere. Right, I mean, why can't they figure out a way to hide a camera and catch the hooligan?
well, that's a different thing than what we have now is one of those speed trailers that rests on the ground that
Yeah.
flashes your speed.
Right.
He said that they would bring him down and try it out.
Oh, good, it takes one to do that?
Yeah, right.
Oh, I
So
thought,
there's a long list of places in town that he's been requested to put that speed trailer, so
Well, where's it been?
it's been on, Maple Street,
Once,
yeah.
last year, I haven't seen anywhere else, it's been a couple of times, I just thought it was gonna be a considered program.
All right, that's the separate issue.
and again, that's something that if it can be moved around to different parts of the town, then putting it there it's the timing, putting it there that keep wildlife windows.
Well, I think that also gets into number 7, which we have not been doing. Which is notifying people, like if it's,
Number 6, you mean? Discontinue commercial GPS?
yes, sorry.
Somebody was gonna deal with that last time.
No, I'm talking about just saying the town's email blast, saying, this is Blanding's turtle, migration, avoid Ash Street or make sure you go slow, I mean, we could.
How
do
long
that.
today? I was looking at the plates. I'm gonna say, yes, 50% of them are out-of-state plates.
Well, that's.
So it's not local, it's traffic cutting through from the highways, that's all
All
right.
right, that's not gonna help.
So one thing I have seen that. You ever see them put those flexible posts in the middle of the road?
Mhm.
When they do that, it slows people down because it narrows the vision of the lane. So I don't know, could you just drill holes in the road and stick a half dozen of those, somebody runs over it, flips back up and they go by, so what, nobody's hurt.
Well, they also break off, if you go over.
Well, they buy the ones on the
Bridges to Merrimack, goes to Putnam, we're snapping now.
Right,
Well, that's because people are deliberately going, and so if they do break off, for $20 a pop, go put them in again.
Yeah, then they end up in the wetland and dimension.
It's-
But I'm seeing, going back to number 5, from both of these have seasonality. It says using that trailer during May to July, it doesn't have to be out of 3 months, it could be, every
but I
couple of
think
weeks.
actually intermittent is better.
Intermittent is better, right?
But
The hooligan won't know when it's out there.
I'm as concerned about speed and endangerment of people as violence, so I don't think we should just limit
Yep.
this to planning.
It's a balance, no question. As long as it's open, you gotta find that balance.
Right. All right, anything else about, number 6, Dwyer said he did talk to the people that determine the commercial GPS services. He did that right after this was, submitted. He said he'll follow up to see whether there may be changes.
And GPS does take you through, I know that, we all know that.
Right, but this is specifically commercial GPS, do you have access to that?
No, I'm saying Google takes you, somebody last time said they were gonna talk to Google,
Ross
Wait.
said that,
you can file some petition to have them.
you just, yeah. Well, I can do that.
Speaking of signs, so the signage issue is talking about the weight restriction.
Mhm.
Are there any signs? I haven't been out there.
For the weight?
No, for like caution, slow wildlife.
Yes.
In both directions there, those are out there, and what format do those take? Are they,
They're yellow highway signs, and then there's the hand-drawn ones by the children that go to
sure,
school like that. Ever,
but they're not illuminating, but they're reflective. At night,
I'm not sure they're reflective at night, they're the typical yellow highway signs.
Somebody recently told me again, somebody with knowledge said the yellow are not enforceable. It's the white that are enforceable, the yellow is suggestions or something to that effect.
Yeah, these are warning signs for wildlife.
But the one says 20 miles an hour, they say you can't give a ticket, it's not enforceable, because the color of the sign is off. So I don't know if that's something that's to add. But again, people don't care about the speed limit out there, Barry, it's. So,
anywhere,
well, it's almost like they try and some,
ask a
What they-
bicyclist.
one lady did say to me one day, she's flying through there. And she stopped to chat about it, not very pleasantly, but she said, if you get going 30 miles an hour, the ruts don't vibrate. And she's correct, I actually tried it once, when it's all waterboarded out, washboarded, if you do 30, there's no bumps, if you sit there and do 20, it's like this the whole way. So that's,
Hey, okay, well, then she
Well-
figured it out.
All right, anything else on this?
Well, we know that putting sort of bumps and humps, that they're not gonna stay in the road, they're gonna get pushed
Yeah,
and move
I
around.
mean, so we committed to exploring the feasibility.
Yeah, and we explored that.
Yeah.
So we fulfilled
I
that,
mean, speed humps.
yeah.
Well, they do make concrete ones that are like,
Yeah, no,
they're very heavy and they're very difficult, they're very inconvenient for DPW.
and they're not gonna stay in place.
Those, the concrete ones, but the plastic ones are not.
I don't know,
The
either.
concrete ones weigh a few hundred pounds each, so
Yeah, the car's gonna move that. And the
they spike them in place. I think my kids,
So is there anything in here we wanna change? That would necessitate, resubmitting this?
Oh, no, not to resubmit it, no.
All right, so we're happy with all the conditions, we're just coming up with ways to implement them more effectively.
That's what I think, yeah.
Okay. All right. So the changes are that Barry is gonna be notified as a select board member when they're considering regrading. I'm gonna check on whether the truck detour signs are actually there. To look at them tonight. I'll follow up with Dwyer about deploying what we have for this traffic speed warning, and then he's gonna look at grants for permanent ones. And I will follow up on just the regular Google and Apple Maps to tell them that, I mean, I'm not gonna say the road is closed, just say that it's a dirt road or hazardous road. Okay.
Yeah.
And the other thing,
Pardon me, you can contact them about
yeah,
that?
I've done that,
So,
just for file.
You know how when you're driving and it'll actually show the speed limit, so.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that it shows the correct 20-mile speed limit in a little box.
Okay.
On Google Maps, I don't know how the other one works.
The other thing, Dwyer offered is that, the Salamander crossing that Lisa mentioned. He worked with them, he didn't close the road, but he was aware they were out there because it was hazardous for them to be in the road. But I think if we ask the people that are following all that to let the select board know possible times, we could ask Dwyer to close the road, just so it'd be fun doing that for a night meeting and put a cruiser down there.
Yeah. Well,
So I
that's
think
great.
we can accommodate that kind of thing, we just need to notice. And he did tell me before this all happened, he's happy to talk about closing it for short periods of time, just not March to June. So,
Do you want me to be the contact for even that piece as well, or,
you sure?
yeah,
Okay.
so both sort of maintenance
And
and
potential.
sort of potential
Wildlife
closures
related
or,
closures, yeah.
yeah.
All right, great, thanks. Okay. Anything else on that?
Your, resident hand up.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
not gonna take any comments, I mean, we discussed quite a bit last time. So review of policy positions regarding various potential Whittier tech funding changes. So I wasn't clear.
Sorry, let me be a skunk. Under our new policy that we just adopted, can two members decide to allow someone to speak during, did that apply to this?
I think that was in the time, if you,
So if someone wants to speak to an item that we're discussing and the chair says no, but does the policy where it said two members can allow it, was that only to extend the time?
that was only for the time, if you have a burning desire to hear.
I'd like to give Lisa a minute, since we
Are you
just
gonna
discussed.
sign
I'll certainly time
it? And I don't know if she's still interested or
it.
she's.
Is Lisa still there? Yeah. Was
Yeah,
everyone-
I'm still
Yeah,
Yeah,
Lisa,
can you hear-
if you wanna comment to just comment
Yeah.
on the traffic control plan rather than other stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
One thing, I agree with a lot of that, and I totally agree with the oversight by the select board, because I think the plan was a decent plan in 2024 when it was started, but I think there was no oversight, and so a lot of it didn't happen. Another thing that I would suggest maybe adding to it is some higher level, because right now I don't see any of police presence on down there, that maybe that will, because I think it's a regular group of people who use that as a commuting route, and so maybe if they see police presence, they'll slow down and realize that it is being monitored. I don't know. I know that they don't have a lot of bandwidth, police department. They only have so many officers on duty, but if they could be down there occasionally, that might be very helpful. And I think another thing is the weight limits are, no trucks over certain weight limit signs are they're very good. They're posted very clearly on either side, but they're completely ignored. Hopefully, getting in touch with Waze and Google and all that will help that. But I imagine if the police start ticketing a little bit, some of those people who are regularly going over it, Amazon trucks and oil trucks and as I said at the open space meeting last night, I was on the road, walking on the road, there was a very large oil truck coming over. I waved him down and told him he should be on the road, and he said, well, I don't know where else to go. This is the way I'm directed by my GPS. So,
That's
You
2
know,
minutes, Lisa.
yep, sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, Lisa, just so you're aware, I have seen police cruisers down there. I commute that way every day. And Chief Dwyer did say he will ask the sergeants to make that a regular rotation. So we did discuss that today. I think that would help.
Okay, yeah, I have never seen them, but that's really good to hear that they are occasionally there. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, Whittier.
Okay, so, yeah, there's a lot of content here, and this is where I've definitely tried to show some restraint in putting these packets together of not writing memos and everything, but sometimes when I don't write a memo, it leads to questions. But basically, we had at the meeting, the RAC meeting last Wednesday, over the course of the prior 6 months, we've had a lot of discussions with that committee, and we've had a couple of straw polls, but not put things to a vote until the meeting last week. And the reason was we wanted to make sure, as chair, I wanted to make sure that before the city and town's reps on this committee actually take a vote, knowing this high profile and the press is covering and so forth, that we really had kind of given the process time to play out and things to be talked about. So we did agree ahead of last week's meeting that I would take votes. And so I put together the 20 questions in your packet. I modified the verbiage a little bit after the meeting to reflect there was one question that was clarified at the meeting. And then I reframed it, preface basically that this document in front of you is coming out of that meeting is substantially similar to what went into that. So what I have asked each of the reps to do is to review how they, as the rep, voted to kind of run it up the flagpole with their local leadership. Some of these members are mayors or select board members or town managers, but I wanted to make sure, since the input from this policy direction is going to be used to prepare an updated working draft of a draft regional agreement. So and the charge of the committee has been that something would not be considered recommended by the RAC committee unless it had 2/3 or greater support. So that's where the shading of green comes in. Anything that I put to a vote that had 2/3 or greater support, I'm looking at as that committee's recommendation to the school committee. And that is going to be what is used to prepare the draft regional agreement. So just to take a simple one, the first one, 9 out of 10 said they felt the appointment of the school committee member ought to be by the chief elected official. So that would be a clear 2/3. So when I'm updating the draft regional agreement on behalf of the, bring it back to the committee, it's going to be written that that is the appointing authority. And for anything shown with a 2/3 or better, that's how it's going to be written. And when this committee, presents its report recommendation to the school committee, and essentially we all expect to cease to exist at that point. I want to make sure that those policy positions are the considered position of the community. And I believe everyone on the committee is making a good faith effort to represent their community's interests, but what I wanted to, we took the vote, but I thought, can you bounce this off your, kind of a local leadership, so that if you as the select board say, hey, it shows here that West Newbury's position is X, but really that's not what we as the select board think. I would want to know that, so that when the RAC meets again next Thursday, Chris and I could go in and say, oh, we said this, but really it's that. So that when we go to our final meeting in July and there's a report, there's a draft regional agreement, it's, I don't want to put something out. I don't want to see this committee put something out and then have some community distance themselves and say, oh, well, it says that our community said X, but really that was just Joe Schmo who's on the committee. That's not really what we think. And that would really undermine a lot of the work, or could undermine a lot of the work that's done. Because there are multiple press outlets following this process, and I do believe they will, pick up the report and publicize it, so I don't want local leadership to read something and say, wait a second, we never said that we thought it should be appointed by the, I mean, you have, the appointment, but there's other questions in there. So that's what I've done is put in the votes that we took. And if there's anything that is shown as, a West Newbury position that this board has questions or concerns about this, I would love to know that so that we can, adjust that before this committee gets to its final draft.
So did you assemble this?
Mhm.
Wow. So all the other communities don't have.
Oh, no, I
shared it,
provided this to everybody.
but you did this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
So
this is what I do on weekends.
no kidding. I see 100%, 90%, so the ones that are sort of issues are the ones where it's 50-40 or
Correct.
that stuff?
Yeah, and the reality with the Whittier agreement, where it requires unanimous agreement, anything other than unanimous is an issue, but for purposes of expediency, when the school committee created the committee, they set a 2/3 threshold, thinking that was a pretty good.
I was just
balance.
wondering about that. Is that where that came from? They established that?
Well, yeah, yes, yeah, that's in the charge that they voted. Yeah, because yeah. Fine.
And the one that jumps out at me is the extension.
Which
Yeah, oh, yeah, there were a few, yeah, that was, I think Chris had to leave like, what, a few minutes early, right? Didn't he?
Yeah, well, a few minutes, I stayed there for an hour.
Right,
The
but the
meeting
meeting,
went on.
yeah,
quite
the
a
meeting
while.
went like almost 2 hours, so that was one where I abstained because Chris wasn't there.
Okay.
And I didn't wanna go out on a limb, so I said I'm just gonna abstain, so that one is,
About the location of the campus.
or potential 2 alternate versions, cause that suggestion had come up at the 2 meetings ago.
Number item.
Number 14.
14.
Oh, there's another one then, oh, I'm looking at it, yeah, sorry. This, which one was it?
14 was the location.
West Newbury, do we abstain? Yeah, I would have strongly said if I'd been there, specify the NECC
Yeah, me
campus.
too.
Okay,
Right? Because without that, this is dead in the water anyways.
okay, so I'll make that change. Yeah, I didn't know because right now it encompasses that, so it's.
It does encompass it, but
Right.
I think, and I said it at the meeting, a couple of meetings ago, without the NECC component, unless Bill Gates wants to drop a bunch of money on us, this project is not happening. Because they have the land, they have a bunch of the infrastructure, which in the tens of millions of dollars reduces the cost. Without this will be dead on arrival on the current campus or
And what's the mileage to that campus?
from the bridge, it can't be 3.
Oh, yeah.
It is within the 5.
Yeah, it's still within the 5.
I just think you have to specify very specifically,
Yeah.
it's this campus or nothing.
And that was the majority.
Yeah, and that'll get that to 70%, so that would get it above, I mean, assuming no other, and Georgetown was absent, that's why there's an L0.
One other thing that's not in the survey, that was a discussion at the meeting. Was that the problem is we're on parallel paths with the, coming up next, the letter with the state to move forward on the, what's it called, Andrew?
Feasibility study.
The feasibility study, yeah. And the discussion was, if this gets sent to the school committee and it's gotta be a unanimous vote there, if it fails and you're going forward with the feasibility study, you just waste $2.5 million that could have been used for infrastructure upgrades. That's a pretty catastrophic situation that I think has a reasonable probability that should be considered.
So what's the remedy for that?
I don't have one, I mean. You do a feasibility study and then it gets voted down, you just ate the $2.5 million.
But you can't get a vote without the feasibility study?
No, we can get a vote, just on parallel paths, and I think this is ahead of it. Really sort of can't stop the train at this point. That's a very perilous problem.
This is not an action.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
I think it is, yeah.
What's the action?
Well, so far, the action I've got is for item 14 to change, to,
I see.
Or if there's any you
Item B,
disagree with.
or if there's any others.
Yeah.
I think I voted for about 10, right? Then I had to leave it, I left the line,
Yeah,
so. If you don't like anything from 1 to 10, that was Angus. Oops, I mean, that was me. The only one that I found really curious, and I mentioned it a while ago, was how the votes of the school committee get counted. Which I don't know what that is.
unlike the approval of the budgets, you mean?
On anything,
Or like weighted votes versus
You
not?
mean the.
Yeah, they wanted to say, well, the way it is currently is cities get 2 votes, towns get 1 vote. Then they had the option for weighted votes, then they had some other plan. But for West Newbury, as I said straight out, the weighted vote hurts us because then it goes proportional to the number of students. The way it is right now, we get a 1 in 13 vote, which is about like 7%, versus if you go to the weighted vote, our vote drops down to like 1% because
So
there's.
are you looking at 6, 7, 8, 9, all those, is that? I hear what you're saying, I'm curious which one it is.
I should mark it.
There's 2 in the word section, you're saying is weight.
I think it was how the
Oh,
vote,
here it is, number 2, different members, 1 rep, cities with 2, so that's number 2,
yeah,
composition. West Newbury voted for that.
yeah. And again, at one point, somebody said, well, they're pretty much the same thing. It's like, no, they're not, because the smaller communities gain significantly more traction with the 1 in 13 vote than the weighted vote.
Well, it's interesting that Merrimack and Ipswich voted for that. Does Merrimack have high enrollment?
No, there was a problem there. They have a new member, and I don't think he was aware of the prior conversations. It was his first meeting, that the previous fellow didn't rerun, so they put a new member in.
Oh,
So,
Both of those actually, yeah.
so the action item is just to change the vote on 14?
Unless there's other things, but the direction that this committee's trying to go is to kind of, try to establish positions. Then take that to, because right now the draft regional agreement, which was prepared, I think 3 or 4 meetings ago with the committee, has a bunch of like this or that. And so this data is gonna be used to say, pick this based on, 2/3 or better. So it's consequential. And like I said, we don't want to do all that work only for people to say, oh, we never really looked at that question.
but Chris, you're okay with these?
Yeah, we're relying on you.
Well, I went through them earlier today, and I thought, well, we'll talk about it, but yes, I'm generally good with all of it. I mean, I think the logjam is gonna be when it gets to the school committee, right? It's not gonna get a majority vote again, I just don't know.
Well, and the capital funding allocation, I mean, that's obviously the thing that's, I think there's some of these other things, it seems that the spirit of at least those that run is, I think there's some opportunity for collaboration on things they don't necessarily agree on, if they agree on the whole thing. But the capital funding allocation is just there's just not going to be consensus on that, that's been clear for a long time.
Yeah. All right. So Chris, you're comfortable with everything?
Yeah.
I mean, the back.
Yeah, we correct that one. 14.
Does that need a motion?
Go for it, Barry.
No, Chris is in, second, whatever it says.
And did we endorse the questions in the policy survey for the Whittier, the upgrading of item number 14 is specified.
To select, to change the vote to 14B, correct? Specifying the NCC campus.
Yeah.
Second,
All right, all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
All right, item 9, vote to update the rate for use of town EV charging stations. Yeah, I was shocked at how little the page school ones.
So I'm confused by this, so I see that. Town accountants table that shows, those are the revenues brought in.
Mhm.
And then the next table has the charging stations. Whose invoices, who's getting these invoices, like 1596, bill number 12? Who's that going to? Person who's charging?
No, those are the town's electrical bills.
So we got a bill,
When the EV stations were put in,
yeah,
they were both set up with two new accounts with National Grid.
yeah, so
And so
that's the total amount of our bill from
that
Grid?
we're paying
Like
per,
$15, $20, $30 a month.
correct,
That's the bill to us for the power that's being used to charge. Grid.
correct, including the base cost. There's a base,
Look at this thing in the totality. This is very,
Okay,
you add together the two numbers. And the cost is 3167. Where,
yes, so
okay,
we're being billed somewhere between 100 and something and $300 a month for the 381 charge station.
I had to look because the information is floating. The cost to the town on the electric per year for this 2025, 6, whatever it is, 3167.
Yeah.
The other component that we were struggling with at the last meeting, the warranty is up. So to extend the warranty 1 year, $6,280. So that makes your annual cost of these units $9,447 versus a total revenue of $2,440. So what that means is that the taxpayers are paying $7,000 a year to subsidize these units. That's where I have a problem.
And that warranty is not gonna go down in price, that's a 1 year.
Yeah.
I mean, if we did a multi-year, would it be lower?
it's lower, but it's,
But still-
I think it's lower by 15% or if that.
And no matter what you raise those rates to, it's not gonna cover the
Yeah.
cost of electric and the warranty. This is
Cool, this is what I'm trying to follow up on the first chart. The revenues, it says there's an ending balance for this year of $8,900.
That's just because we hadn't touched that, we hadn't hit any expenditures on that account, so that's just been rolling forward as a revolving.
You're paying out of one pocket, but leaving the money in the other pocket.
Oh, so this revenue from people, we're paying those bills that were just shown, the grid bills from general revenues?
General,
Well,
that's just.
okay, and here's the dumb question, why are not the revenues that we're getting from the charging station being paid to grid?
Well, that's what's before you tonight, we.
Is there an actual mechanism that we could do to do that?
Yeah, you just, right now, you wouldn't have, you're not generating enough money to cover that.
Well,
You're gonna run dry quick, very quick.
because the annual revenues in 2020 ran at $800, is that generally what the revenue is gonna be?
No, the revenue for, FY 25,
Yeah, where is that?
it's this number here, 2440 for the two stations.
Yeah.
The two locations combined,
Okay.
2,440 for the last two.
So the advantage you had at the beginning was it was a warranty included with
Now with it.
the purchase.
Catching
We
up.
now own the warranty. So between the warranty and the electric, unless you quadruple the rates,
So you're saying
Yes,
the
sir.
revenue that's around 3,200 in cost to grid and 6,000, so 10,000. So we're running, if
2,400.
2,400 is typical, we're running.
This is 7 grand a year that the taxpayers pay for someone to charge a car.
So,
I want to put a gas pump in there so I can get my gas at a big discount. Well, that's
but
right.
so the policy question is it a benefit to the taxpayers to subsidize the electric vehicle car charging?
That's not being always a business to do, I don't believe.
Well, it's a decision for the taxpayers, so would changing the mechanism of payment or raising the rates be something that goes to town meeting?
No. No, that's this board's.
That's this board's decision.
So didn't we decide to use some of the revolving fund to pay the warranty?
We did, yeah, so this, this report here is still the one from April, when this was
Okay.
before the April meeting, so this does not reflect. Although, interesting, just earlier this week, Janet's trying to close out some things, and as recently as a couple of days ago, we hadn't gotten invoiced for the warranty, even though we agreed to it. So, but Caitlin got back to Jenny like yesterday, but that money's gonna flow out, so that balance of 8,900 is gonna go down quite a bit.
So
So the-
2,200.
Yeah, I think that's.
So the piece that I'm not
So 1 year
seeing,
and you're done.
Yeah,
the
And we
is,
won't have money for the warranty for next year.
Correct, it's 1 year, you broke, and then you don't have a warranty.
Oh, here it is, yeah, on Tuesday, yeah, because Jenny followed up with Kate and I'm just saying, hey, where's the invoice? Hi Jenny, they sent me an invoice last week, but it has sales tax included, I sent over our tax exempt cert and ST forms, I'm just waiting on updated invoice. And our rep submitted a ticket for a new invoice, so it's just one of the, you know, but,
and is it a warranty that, is it for maintenance and replacement if it fails, and how, is it a good
it's
warranty?
at $5,400 is what's gonna come out.
What is it? What
What is
is it?
it covering?
Yeah, is it worth the warranty?
Well,
Have we ever had a
back to
warranty
this.
call on any of
It
it?
also said software too or something.
Yeah, there were two separate things we were getting, there was one with
I
the.
don't know what's about software.
It's I think it's the cloud package for the software to work. So there's a certain cost that I believe you need to have, because there were, this took us, this took a little.
No, I don't wanna dive that deep, I'm more
Well, we
asking.
did
is
though,
that-
but if you look at the April 30th packet, there was
Oh.
there was more in
Oh, I have
there.
to go back to where I was on board, okay,
Yeah.
no, I'm with you.
But
you're
I do
talking-
remember there were two distinct charges, because it took me a
Okay,
time to get my head around it. One of them, I think, was for the cloud plan. For it to be able to,
I'm not asking what
And
you're
then the
paying
second-
for, what I'm asking is, have we made any warranty claims?
we did have, yes, we did make one claim during the initial 5 years.
And what was the cost of that?
I'd have to check with Peyton. I don't think, I think it was,
Hundreds?
maybe 1,000 or less, like it
We
wasn't,
still have cloud costs though.
yes,
That's not really a warranty. That's-
correct.
No, power cost, but I mean. Warranties, they're extended warranties, the question is it worth the money?
I never do it.
No, but
I always take a chance.
we wanna make a judgment as to like, how much would it cost to replace each of those? How
Or
much
do
are
we
they?
want?
This is a terrible business model. For every dollar somebody spends charging their car, it's costing the town $3.
No,
That's insanity.
well, maybe. What I'm wondering is,
Maybe you're crazy there.
no, not ready to call anything insane. But I'm not seeing, what are people being charged? I see the total revenues, but who set the rate for what?
We do.
So where is that rate?
I think
It's
it was
not-
back
Is that
in
in the
No-
April
back in
30th?
No, that was back in November.
Oh, but do you know
No,
what
it only
it is?
came back, it was like 35 cents,
It was actually a slightly higher rate, but we weren't getting usership, but then it started picking up and
No, what's the rate?
but I think it was about 35 cents.
35 cents
November,
per
or whatever.
kilowatt hour, and what,
But it was,
I don't have an
yeah.
electric vehicle,
Yeah.
if someone charges an electric vehicle, what's the nut for 35 cents a kilowatt hour, what does it end up costing them, $6, 60 cents? 600, what does it cost them to
Bigger
charge a
battery
vehicle?
is.
No, but do we know what Joe Jones paid, or Ray Cook when he comes and plugs in?
yeah, I don't know, I mean, we
What
do
do they
have,
pay?
we have some energy committee members who might be able to speak to that, I don't know that.
Is there anyone knows?
Jeff,
Rick Parker's there,
as.
$12. Typical charge would be like $12.
$12.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff.
And how often would somebody need to do that, Chip? If they wanted to come use the town charger, how often would they do that?
It's all about how many miles. Yeah, a typical, charge from, say, if you're at 25% and you do it up to 75%, 20 to 80, $12 or $15.
And your people are charging at home as well, right?
Yes.
And so it's infrequent that someone might be charging on a town charger?
It, probably more used by visitors. It could be used by employees if they have an EV, or even residents of the housing there.
And how much would we have to raise that 35 cent per kilowatt hour amount to in order to break even,
$1.50.
quadruple it?
Yeah, that's pretty simple.
You're the math guy.
I'm just guessing, I made it up on the fly.
So, for Chip, if I can,
Sure.
so you guys know this, so if somebody were faced with $1.50
Well, $48 for a charge, they're not gonna
or
use it.
$48 for a charge, they wouldn't use it, right? Like,
I-
do you know what the elasticity is for that?
I don't really have access to most of these numbers. I'm just a frequent user of charging stations. 50 cents is about as high as you normally see 50 cents per kilowatt hour is the highest rate
At
we
other
usually see.
places? I apologize. So in other places, Chip, that you might pay 50 out there in the world?
Yeah, on the high side. More, right now, if I go to a Tesla charger, usually it's 42, 44 cents.
So $1.50, no one's gonna do it at all.
Correct.
You know, that warranty charge is much higher than it used to be, and it was unexpectedly high. That's where I think we would look further at whether we want to keep buying exactly what we're buying now.
Yeah, like we're a more limited warranty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see, is it in one of the packages?
I believe it was in the April 30th. I think we included the full detail for the warranty, but I can send around an email as all I know is there were a number of emails from this, and until we got through town meeting, I didn't really focus on it because I was so stretched. And it would be emails with like 4 PDFs. It would really take some time to dig into. So that's where Caitlin, as the DPW business manager, is the one who was going through all that in detail. And so, for instance, initially they priced it for 1 year, for multiple years. The multiple years was a lower per year cost. Reviewing it with her, Jamie, we decided, to bring to the board the proposal to pay for the 1 year out of these funds. And that's what came to the board on November 30th.
Yeah.
I think it was back in November was the last time the actual rate was brought forward for consideration. But that's not something that's on our regular schedule. Not only, I think, I can't remember if that came forward because we were at a staff level thinking it was like, we just wanted to confirm it was still the rate, or if it was someone from the board who requested it, I can't remember. But the reason, and just one more thing, the reason I bring that up, especially with the transition, we were talking in the office the other day about fees, that it would be good to have like every year or every 2 years, but something regular. And I think the same for this, that it should be kind of a regular, whether the board leaves it the same or changes it, but your baseline business is not setting electrical rates. Like that is part of your job. And so it kind of relies on one of you either saying, hey, we should do this, or someone on staff saying, hey, you should do this. It would probably be good practice to just every year, just automatically.
And if I
revisit
can,
rates.
the bills that we're seeing here from 381 charging station and 200 something a month, that's based on actual usage.
Correct.
Is there a base?
There is a base
for having the charge.
There's a base charge just like there is on every single national.
But is
grid
that,
now.
most of this is from actual usage?
I can tell you, we have some accounts that have, that will sometimes see $10 bills, like $10 even, because that's the base charge.
Yeah.
It kind of drives me nuts because we have streetlights in this town that have their own account with National Grid.
Yeah, and
So without looking at the bills themselves.
No, but this is suggesting there's pretty good usage of these if it's fit.
Well, kind of what I'm getting at is with Page School, even with these low dollar, a significant share of that is probably the base charge.
Right.
So it might not be worth it. Continuing.
And how many are at the pay school?
There's 2 units, each of which have 2 ports, so there's 4 ports total at both locations.
Oh, 4 both.
Yeah.
So pay school ones aren't being used, but
Not being used
if you
for-
took one out, you'd save $7 or whatever, and it's not, that's not gonna make.
I don't think you would, because the base charge is probably $10.
Yeah, right.
You're losing less there really, because it costs you, they use $61 in electric, it costs you $240. You look at the one out here, they use $2,400 in electric, and it still costs the town $3,000. You're still losing money, that's without a warranty.
I'm with you. My being new to this, maybe it just, I wanna take one more beat on it, is I'd like to see the April 30th, I'd like to see the warranty. And find out if there's a lower cost warranty that gets us a good warranty that isn't as expensive. And then find out based on, sort of what a usable rate would be without making it where people just aren't gonna use it. And then evaluate using up the stored money that is in this
The
account.
stored money is money that the town should have had to pay the bills already.
No, I'm saying, but as Angus points out in the memo, if you could use them all up at once and be done with it, or you can burn through them. and so-
But that's 60 or 5,800 lower. That amount has already been used for the warranty for this year.
And that's
Yeah,
fine, that-
okay, so we need an update to the
Yeah,
year
so
to
we have
date.
like 1 year left.
Oh, in terms of how much money is left in there. But sort of trying to find a balance without raising the rate. I
So the
don't mind raising
question-
the rate, but I don't wanna raise it to a rate where people aren't gonna. use it.
Why?
Because why have the station sitting there and no one's using it? It makes no sense. And I don't
We have
mind
the stations
encouraging,
because we got a grant to do it.
well, I get that, but I think it's a good thing to have that facility at both the school and the town.
it's a good thing, but I don't wanna pay for it, why should I? Put a gas tank out there, then discount it for me by 25%. No, I'm just saying.
Point, but it's part of a policy standpoint of encouraging the use of and.
That's not a policy that we've adopted though.
Well, we sort of have by default, by subsidizing it through.
Well, till the recent meeting, I don't think anybody knew we're subsidizing, so that's why I asked for the numbers.
Well,
I
Well,
would
I'm not
assume-
sure nobody knew,
I think the warranty question, as Chip said, that's much higher than we had.
Yeah. but I'm not ready to. Shut people off of using this by raising the rate to an unwieldy,
Yeah.
non-desirable rate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Chip, do you know if you were to charge your vehicle at home versus at the town, what would the rate be?
the residential
Yeah.
kilowatt hour charge, huh?
Last I looked, it was the total of what I pay being on the town, the town's group purchase plan. It was around 33 cents a kilowatt hour.
Okay,
So it's cheaper at home than it is
Yeah.
here, but if someone's running low, they charge it up. And anyway, that's my initial take on this is I'm not antagonistic to supporting it, but let's find a way, I am totally in support of controlling the cost and taking it off the taxpayers. And the first place to look would be the warranty, and the next one is how much, what's the elasticity of demand, 33 at the home rate, maybe it's 40 a year. Would you say the charge 35?
That's my recollection.
It's 35 now, yes.
Yeah. So, Chip says, if the committee has some information about, and is there any way you guys would have information about what what other costs are out there?
I did a survey late last year of the local chargers. We
Yeah,
did,
that was.
35
that was-
cents was in the middle of the range at that time, but that was before prices went up.
Yeah, it's all in the packets, but,
Just
yeah.
send me the packets, I'll
Yeah,
find.
yeah,
the-
yeah,
Don't
yeah.
do the,
No, it's easy, yeah.
all right, so then
So-
are we deferring until you have a chance to look at it, or?
Yeah, maybe we just defer it till next week.
You don't have it back on next week?
Yeah, is there any way to put it on next week, I'll take a look at the warranty thing and whatever the packages from November and April were.
I can also get more, information, I can get, Caitlin Barker had told me months ago about the one time they did have to get it repaired.
Mhm.
I just don't have it fresh in my head.
Sure.
She's out, she's been out a couple of days, but she's in Monday,
Mhm.
so it'll be, I can just kind of get current with my knowledge and, I don't have a problem with that if you want to continue.
And there's no deadline, impending deadline for the warranty or.
No, to be honest, this is kind of fun. I had asked the board had asked for this information back on April 30th, and I had talked to Caitlin in the day or two following that meeting as a follow-up item, and she had prepared this report. And then I had just forgotten, I had actually drafted an email to Wendy, and I just never hit send. And then the other day I found it in my drafts, and I said, oh, hey, Caitlin sent this info, so that's why, the lag time from April 30th to now, so. It's not, I think the main thing is.
The warranty's not about to run out.
No, we just renewed it for 1 year, but the
Oh.
question before you was arising from that April 30th meeting, is because I think the question was, why aren't we spending, why are we drawing down this to pay the electric bills? And so, this gives you the revenue and the cost information to inform that.
I mean, I think a better model would be using the revolving fund to pay the electric bills and then whatever warranty or whatever we have to find something elsewhere or.
Yeah,
It still runs out. 20, you got 3,100 in the cost of electric and the billings are only 2,400. They're not paying enough to cover what we're paying.
Yeah.
Never mind the warranty.
Well, the year to date is 2545.
on revenue, yeah. Yeah, that was just through April 16th, so it's a little bit more now.
And you're saying that we've just paid how much out of the ending balance there?
5,400,
So there's,
about 4,500 plus any, whatever revenues come in the last 7 weeks, which was,
I don't know, 4,500?
50,
Yeah, so now it's down to 3,400.
30, yes, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you know, part of the impact of this is there is the, it doesn't seem much, but you know, this is part of what keeps the treasurer collector busy receiving the money, the town accountants posting the revenue. You know, where, you know, we had to just recently, there was a change in mandate on certain language that had to happen at the stations, and we got a notice from ChargePoint, Kate contacted ChargePoint, made sure they update, you know, there is little stuff. You know, it's none of it's a backbreaker, but it's all just part of the little stuff that keeps us very busy. It is a program we're running, so you know.
Yeah, so I mean, just so if we're gonna have a discussion, what would be involved if we wanted to discontinue providing this? We just,
I assume that with the National Grid, I think it was National Grid grants that I assume they must have had probably strings attached in terms of how long the units have to be there, but we have all that
I
paperwork.
think that
So
would be helpful to know.
yeah, I could put that all in circulation. There was a lot of paperwork on this.
Yeah, okay. All right, Chris, anything else? Let's see, so we're on to the grade step wage table for FY 27. Which is in the packet. This is based on 3% COLA.
Yep.
No, no input, you just, it is what it is.
No, but we have to approve it, so. Barry, any questions on this?
Well, that's my question, is there, this is not something where there's discretion at the moment, right?
Want to cut somebody's pay, you're saying?
No, or raise it.
No, I don't know if you've ever seen this, this is the structure of the grade.
This is what,
steps.
this is the recommendation based on the decision to raise it by 3%.
3%, yeah.
Just sort of an FYI, this is the table.
But we do get it voted every year. So yeah, every year within the budget, the board endorses non-union COLA. We then update the numbers to reflect that. And then after the budget, we ask you to vote the actual wage tables, both the general grade and step as well as the specific, because under the Town Manager Act, all of that authority rests with the board.
And being new, the 3% was selected because,
Over the last 20 years, it was 2% just about every year, except I think this is the third year we've gone to 3%. And I think it's really, I believe it was the board trying to, you know, be as supportive as they could within the town's fiscal constraints, given that we all know that inflation, you know, isn't.
it's not fixed, if you go back to 2% at some point.
Yeah, of course, yeah, that's typically the default every year,
And just, was this is built into the budget that got approved during the meeting?
yeah, all of the numbers you have are the basis of the salary.
Also, thanks. In that case, I'll move
All right, Barry.
to approve the employee compensation policy as shown on the attachment for fiscal year 2027 for salary and wage grades and steps as listed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And just to be clear, there's two separate things, right? That's where you're going, right?
Yeah, so the next step is to review and approve the actual salaries and wage tables for specific employees, and that was sent out as a separate, resolution. The only changes here, guys, are the 3% increases, right?
Correct. Yeah, I actually didn't, this is something Jenny prepares, but yeah, obviously you can see with like, you know, the union is consistent with the contract terms, and
I mean, we haven't had any stipends or anything.
No.
like that.
no.
Okay. Questions? Yes.
So. This is public. If I mention a name or a position, that's, right?
Well, I mean,
Yeah, it is. I would say if you refer to the position, that's,
Yeah.
but it is public. If someone comes in and requests this, it's a
So I'm
public.
looking at, we just were told the treasurer collector is
Yep,
leaving.
yep.
Does this lock in this salary for a replacement?
So that's a great question. So in the select board policies, there's something that talks about hiring and basically, if, so I'm the appointing authority for the treasurer collector, for example. And the board adopted a policy about 6 years ago that says if the appointment I make is for someone who meets the qualifications and the range is within the range here, so that one, for instance, is a grade D, and that the amount offered is within budget, then I have the authority to make that appointment. So I don't have any authority to bring someone in above the budgeted rate. So let's say, not using that example, let's say some other,
Yeah.
I wanted to bring someone in above the budget rate, I would need the board's specific approval for that. And that has come up at times over the years.
When you say the budget rate, you mean this? that table
No,
or
this
the
is the
budgeted
range,
line
the budgeted amount,
in the? yeah,
right,
okay.
correct,
And was this the amount budgeted in the town meeting?
correct,
Yes.
yeah, because obviously we have no knowledge if she was leaving.
Now, is this based, this salary is not based on seniority, years of service, right? Or is there merit raise built into this at all?
So generally, you know, cost of living is typically the only adjustment. There's, you know, potential for like step increases, but that was only done one time in 25 years, so that was.
So that particular line is based on, that's the grade D level.
Yeah, that person was brought in at that amount and it was adjusted for COLA each year. Back in 2022, when the select board finished when we finished the wage and classification study, there were a handful of one-time adjustments. And so I can't remember.
But we're not obligated, you can hiring a new person for any of these positions, you know, at that rate,
No,
as long as it, just in the manner you just described.
right,
Okay, that's
Yeah.
my only question.
Yeah.
Same with like the town planner, same issue.
correct. Yeah, that's one where, you know, that line was underspent in the current year because the position's been vacant for 4 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Make a motion to read. Motion for the employee compensation schedule for fiscal year 2027 as presented.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, next item is the minutes. Yeah. Visions, questions?
Motion for the minutes of May 28th as submitted.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any changes to the game four fund?
Make the motion to submit the minutes of June 4th as submitted.
Second to approve.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye. There was I just wanted to ask you about it, Chris had asked if we could get a financial report for each committee that manages their own fund.
I noticed that,
Okay.
yeah, yes,
Okay, is
Yeah.
that a big deal?
no, not a big deal at all,
Okay.
nope, that's a good.
Okay. All right, moving on to discussion, the first item is, the working meeting that was had with Guardrail and Adjournment regarding Pentucket operating cost allocation. Chris, do you want to update on that meeting? No?
Yeah, basically. All we're saying in this letter is. Please calculate the numbers the way Desi does, use them in the budgeting, that's all. There's nothing, Pentucket for some reason is doing, what do they call it, a live head count, which we don't get explanation on. The contract says you gotta use the numbers presented to DESI for October first of the prior fiscal year, just do it, that's what the regional agreement states.
Okay. The entire regional agreement says more than that, it was excerpted part of it out. I did talk to Justin about this.
Okay.
I have two concerns, one is the content, and the other is that I feel like it's bad form to send a letter to a school committee who he's responsible for, basically calling him out for something, and they're gonna look at him and say, why are we just hearing about this now? You know, it puts him in a tough position. So I mean, I would much prefer that we sat down with him, or this committee worked with him to figure out, you know.
No, I don't have the background on that, but I believe that he's been in the loop on much of the discussion, and there's been no definitive answer, so.
That's not the story. At any rate, the way he explained it to me is that the first part of this is the number from October first. But the December number that they're using includes the second part, which is the out of district placements.
So it's like a catch up that happens?
Yeah, and then there's another number in January, which includes all the special ed.
And does the assessment get adjusted for each of those
No, so
headcounts? No.
do you have to pick which one you're gonna use? Right
Oh.
now, they're using the December one, is that correct, Angus? They're not using the October one. And
It's, to be honest, we haven't been able to figure out has not been able to be explained to us exactly what this live headcount is. And exactly what the base, we've had many.
I've seen a lot of emails from attorneys, but I just wonder why we can't just sit down and.
We have, I mean, we're welcome to, but we have, I mean, Carol and Rebecca, and multiple times, including, we had an entire meeting back in, I think it was February, March. We went through it in great detail, and there's been a lot of email, I mean, I can just ship off everything. to you guys.
That's email, but I
So
just.
when's the next select board meeting next week?
I guess my concern is that this is clearly an issue that Groveland initiated, and I feel like we're getting dragged along with it, and it may not be in West Newbury's best interest, either financially or politically.
Except that if Groveland is questioning what Angus is referring to, which is, what are you doing? Right? Because you're not getting a clear answer on when they're actually closing the headcount.
Well, I mean,
Oh,
for
it's-
instance, like back in February,
Is
you know,
that-
Jenny couldn't tie
What's
to the
the-
number, and
Is that in our package?
this one is, this is the Triton worksheet, because,
Oh,
and this is exactly what we're looking for,
But
because
this
this,
is not the October number, this is the December number. It says including out of, charter,
regular day, OOD, choice out and charter out, less
but
choice.
that's not what they're asking in the letter.
But this is what you're saying you wanna see, right? Something like this that tells
No,
us
no, that's what the
better.
letter said, is asking for, I don't know anything about Triton, other than, I'm just trying to reconcile what's the excerpt that they
Yeah.
put in the letter versus the entire paragraph,
Right,
and how that compares to Triton.
but I'm concerned with Angus with what you're saying, which is they're not able to tell you how they're calculating.
it's
that.
a thousandth of a point, like it's very.
No, I
close,
get that,
but
but
it's-
but based on which of the 3 or 4 deadlines, you're saying they can't tell you what it is?
He told me, when I talked to him on the
And that
phone,
they're using December,
yeah, so
but why not use the next one? Like,
that, I think what he said to me is, we can use whatever you tell us. The reason they changed is because there was a union issue and they told them they had to do it this way back in 2002.
2002,
Yeah.
so they've been using December ever since?
I mean, it was a union issue.
There was a teachers union objected to the way that they were doing the allocations. And so you have to do it this way. And so that's how they've been doing it. This is what he told me. So and it's not advantageous to Groveland apparently. So I mean, I looked back at the agreement that we had started marking up, and they had struck out this out of district placements as reported to DESI.
So, just so I'm understanding it, because this is sort of important, so you're saying that this letter says the agreement provides the assessment shall be allocated, and that excerpt is one of,
Right.
it's a selected excerpt. And then it says the communities believe the intent has always been that the official October 1. The intent of the agreement, that's an interpretation. believing the intent, is like, well, either it says it or it doesn't, so. It sounds to me that the use of alternative enrollment methodologies is inconsistent with the plain language, is it or isn't it, and original intent. The language is the intent, you know, who drafted this letter, by the way?
Rebecca Olin. Yeah, town administrator in Groveland.
In Groveland. So I agree with Wendy that she shouldn't sign on to a letter that is, you know, kind of vague. Being a lawyer, here I go, but I don't understand that. It's inconsistent with plain language. Which plain language? That one clause, but not the other two that you didn't cite. That's dangerous. And original intent. In interpreting an agreement, you interpret the plain language. You don't try to find intent if there's plain language. Only if it's sort of ambiguous, do you start to say, from the language, what would I determine? So, Chris, you sounded like you were thinking, just do what Desi does, right? But,
Well, they tell you, as of October first, use the numbers from DESI, include out of district placements.
well, that's a request.
No.
That, this letter says that we request that you utilize only.
Because that's what's in the agreement, that's the regional agreement, just follow what the agreement says, calculate it that way.
Yes, but Wendy is saying there's more to the agreement than just this one clause. And I'm curious to know what the other clauses say. Is there another clause that says,
Yeah, it's-
unless it's agreed, blah, blah, blah?
No, it says including out-of-district placements as reported to DESI.
It says right there, including out of district placements.
Which is not in October.
That's what.
It
That's
says that, it says as of October 1, DESI numbers.
That's what I'm saying is inconsistent, just it says you don't have those numbers in October, you don't get them to.
Yeah, Chris, the way to read this is based on its
Well, you
percentage
don't,
as of October first, comma, including out of district, and if out of district only is known by December, then it pushes it past October.
well, I would have said, you have a number as of October, whether it's this fiscal year or the prior fiscal year. So on October first, you have an out of district number, you know what it is, it might
Prior
change
year.
in December this year, yeah.
But the allocation for the next year is based on last year's enrollment, in effect.
Yeah.
If that's the language of the
But
agreement.
I guess what, have we looked at the impact this has?
By the way, it does say secondary education as of October first, the prior fiscal year, so all your numbers are the prior fiscal year. So just because come December, you get new out of district placements, that'll change it for this next year going forward.
Well, why are we even doing this? Well, how does this?
We're just saying,
benefit
follow the agreement.
But why? Why are we even writing this letter? I mean,
'Cause
that's not gonna, so we write this letter, fine. Next year, a new select board in Groveland or West Newbury wants a different thing.
I
No, no,
don't
no,
think
I-
different. I'm just saying, follow the regional agreement. We're
What
told,
Groveland is raising apparently is they don't want them using the December things, they think it's inconsistent with the agreement. And it obviously favors them if they go back to the, if this is the agreement. Are you familiar enough to know that that's that's the right interpretation, or you're not?
Yeah, no, I believe so.
It
And I
really
think it
is,
does
it's the allocation for the
financially, in
next
current year, it benefits, it would, what they're requesting, what Groveland's requesting would marginally benefit Groveland and marginally benefit West Newbury at the expense of Merritt.
Yeah.
That could change next year, it could change from year to
Yes.
year. And at the meeting that Chris and I went to a couple of weeks ago, where there was a lot, we went through this in detail, sitting around the table at length. Everybody at that table agreed that whether it goes up or down in any given year, we just want it done consistently, we want it done per the agreement and the October first date. And that was that, and some years that will benefit one or another community, but this idea that there's a perception of a lack of adherence to the regional agreement has caused, I believe, a real political issue in Groveland, which is unfortunate, because you're talking about a few bucks.
Yeah.
But the fact it's become a big distraction over there. And I think has affected people's perception of the credibility of the budgeting process is a real
I
problem.
got you, so that what you're telling me is that everybody at the table believed that the words, the clause, including out of district placements, right? That clause that's both in the agreement and in that paragraph means the out of district placements that were there as of October first of the prior fiscal year.
it even says the prior fiscal year.
Yeah, no, but then it goes comma, including out of district placements. Sounds like the district has been interpreting that to mean in this current year. They interpreted the clause that way. Reading it does sound like it's supposed to be the out of district from the project.
There's been
And
a
if
lot of
that's-
correspondence between Groveland, the illegal, and the superintendent. And it's just very muddy when it comes back every time, this whole live head count.
Yeah,
There's no live head count, it is the number on October 1st of the prior
which
fiscal year.
includes prior.
I just don't know what.
And those numbers are officially posted to
Yeah, yeah.
SD and there, and the fact that you can't tie that number to the number being used. And it might be off by 3 or 4 students, but it's off, it doesn't tie exactly.
Yeah, I got you.
So
So,
I think that when Jenny couldn't get the debt service to tie to the number Suzanne was using, it was like, it's, so.
I'm gonna, I'm comfortable that reading this, that, it's it is inconsistent with the language to be using the live head count after the October 1st dozen numbers. So I would support you signing this letter, asking the district to do it that way.
If we're gonna do this, I think we should have some kind of agreement, so that next year, when it doesn't benefit them, Berlin doesn't come back and say.
Well, I did say that in the meeting, I said.
I want it in writing
Oh,
though.
It's in writing, it's in a contract on a regional agreement, it's just.
But the interpretation of the agreement is different, so to me,
There
that
should be
indicates
these
that
numbers, how can you interpret a date and a number different?
apparently they are.
No, do you think Groveland is next year gonna go like, oh, wait, I want you to use.
I don't know,
live
this
head
has
count?
been their issue since 2019, when we first started trying to do this agreement. This one particular select board member who's
So to be respectful, I still think we ought to invite the superintendent to the next meeting.
absolutely.
I'm not gonna say yes or no to this, I'm very much in favor of it, but I would like to hear his perspective and his explanation, if he can do it very clearly.
You think we can get him here
That's his
for
option.
next week?
I'm
If
sure.
it's available,
Oh,
you can certainly ask, yeah.
yeah, I want to do that.
Good.
You need to ask, that's basically to ask why you're not doing it with.
Could you
October first.
add clarity to this for us,
Yeah.
because it looks pretty simple to
It
me.
was not at your meeting with.
No, and I
Yeah,
would suggest you invite the Groveland and, well, it would be better to get all the parties in one room and just.
As a select board meeting, I mean, I think
yeah, just bring in.
Justin should have been at your meeting, but that would have been better. Then it could have gotten resolved
We didn't
there.
call a meeting.
We had multiple meetings with Justin and Suzanne and.
I don't understand why this is like such a different
What
report.
did they say at those meetings? They don't think they need to use October 1st?
The most recent written correspondence I have from Justin said, he said, how do you want to proceed with finalizing a group that looks at specifically writing up exactly how the second part of the second step process will be done?
Second step,
It's a 2-step process, based on chapter 70 and then this other formula. At a minimum, if a group gets together and gets approval from all 3 towns on the specific language they want, the district would be happy to use to implement those changes, even without a regional agreement change. For me, the money is coming to us either way, it's just how it impacts each of you.
but the
So,
second
I think
step,
everyone's
does the
done
second
that.
step include the December count?
No,
No,
well, that's where it's,
what does second step mean?
that's nothing to do with.
The required.
The first step is to
Good, so that, but that's not involved in this,
Yeah.
okay, good.
Yeah.
So he's not disputing the October 1st language, or he hasn't been.
My take is, there was a certain way Greg LeBrecq did it for a long time. Suzanne inherited that. Now, this reference to this, 2002, I haven't seen, I did hear something about that years ago, but I've not, in the last 6 months, that's not come up. And I haven't ever seen anything on that, but,
Oh, pardon me, but he has not spoken, the superintendent has not spoken to the issue of, is October 1st, including the out of district, is that not the deadline? Has he spoken to that issue?
well, that's an official date in the state, like statewide, as to
Yeah.
your official enrollment is as of October.
No, but has he not spoken to that being the date and the numbers that are supposed to be used? Has he addressed that question? Has he addressed Groveland's question in any other forum?
Yeah, we.
And what does he say? And what does he
gets
say?
so complicated, but that's where I don't want to be the one speaking of it, the whole reason this working group, because. Anyway,
So he's never said,
complicated,
I am
but
not,
Chris is trying to keep it simple.
has he ever said at any, has he been to any meetings you've been at?
I was at the one meeting, all I'm saying is stick to the contract,
Yeah.
it's very
Hold on,
specific.
hold on. At the meetings you've been at,
Yeah.
that he's been at,
Yeah,
no one has said to him, Aren't you obligated to use all the head count from October first? Is that question?
I
been
can't
presented
remember,
to him?
Barry. I've been to so many,
Yeah.
I could give you 20 pages of handwritten.
So we don't know if his answer is yes or no, so it would be good for us to have him, ask him,
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't
that's the question I wanna ask him.
Like, why is this even an issue
Right.
with everything else?
Why are you going to December if this is what it says?
Why is Groveland making such a big?
Oh, well, that's because I don't care about that.
Well, I do, it's not our issue, it's Groveland's
Well,
issue,
but
and they're trying to get everybody else to jump on board.
Well, it's everybody's issue if the contract is not being
That's right.
enforced properly.
I
it's just,
really don't think that's what's going on.
what we're in the mud, right? So at the
In
moment,
fairness to Wendy's comment, by the way, because there was a committee, 3 years ago, to look at the regional agreement to rewrite it. And Groveland came in trying to manipulate the
I
numbers.
don't need that long history, I'm only asking,
you
we
do.
have an agreement. This is the language of the agreement, and apparently it sounds like the superintendent of the district is not following this agreement in their opinion. And unless there's other language, I do read this to me as the October first DESI numbers, and that's what it's based on. And if we can bring him in to say, why are you not doing it that way, what language are you viewing?
Yeah, what do you do?
What do you view the
Yeah.
agreement to mean? That'll end it for me.
Mhm.
And, you know, perhaps for you. If he can't answer that question, then use the October, here's your letter. Right? And if he has some other language, I can't believe it's taken him this long to point that out.
Well,
I mean,
that's,
usually if you've got some other reason why you're not following some particular language, you would have written a memo or an email or a letter that says, I'm following section 62A instead of 61B, meaning in the agreement. So if you could ask him to come in, I'm all for that. I mean, it's a tempest in a teapot for small, short money, but I think Chris's point was like, if you're gonna follow the agreement, follow the agreement. Good.
All right, item B, Board of Water Commissioners Water Rate Hearing.
Ah,
Any
They
follow-up?
voted to raise the rates with using some of the reserve, right?
Yeah, what they proposed is
Yeah.
what Chris has suggested, but did you see the new report? Did you send that to everybody? Andy?
Yes. Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Probably
So,
today.
so that doesn't account for that 10% increase. Or 17%.
nothing on it.
Okay, but
17% increase?
I think it was 18, wasn't it 18 in Jack's email? Yeah.
And is that just the Western Agreement or all of it?
No, that's all our water. So that was a whole thing, right? What is it, 100,000 for Newburyport water?
It's fluctuated, it's been as high as 220. The range, I think is like 140 to 220 per year. So I know in the email that Jack Haley sent earlier today, he referred to it potentially being a $30,000 impact if it goes up 18%, so that's about right.
So then, are they gonna vote to increase rates again, or go back to the drawing board, or?
Well, that would, if the impact is 18%, and if it's roughly 30K, that would obviously exceed the 20,000 they carry for extraordinary and unforeseen. They and the town meeting vote for their FY 27 budget authorized them to pull up to a certain amount from retained earning to balance the budget. So you'd have to add is that, you know, with the rate change, that would reduce that amount. With the West Newbury rate change, it would reduce the amount with Newburyport rates going up, it would go back up. Is it still in balance? And I don't, I mean, we just learned about this potential 18% this morning, so. On that math, yeah.
What's the driver of that? That's a significant increase.
I don't know, I know the Water Sewer Commission meets next Wednesday at 4. I have to assume it's at least partially, if not largely, driven by the backlog of capital projects. I
And the building
heard that
reserves.
I heard that they got, I think it was Butch who told me that they'd gotten an estimate of that dam elevation increase. And it was staggering. I forget what I jotted it down somewhere, but it was staggering. That's, I think, off the table. It was a high popping number.
But they've also got treatment for the cyanobacteria.
Yeah, the alum treatments, yeah.
Well, but also some carbon at the plant itself too.
Yeah, they just, there was new water treatment plants.
So they've got water treatment, water quality issues. If that, is that paid for out of their rates? Same thing, right? They have to raise the money and then, yeah. Water.
Yeah. All right, anything else on that? The OPEB report from KMS, this is really just a formality to close this out,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
Any questions, Barry?
You read it and understand it?
This is which now?
So this,
OPEB report.
Oh, jeez.
That was something we had a while ago because
yeah.
a certain group of retirees wanted us to increase the contribution on their insurance, which we would have liked to have done. And we asked them to do an analysis and it was $1.5 or something. So this is just a report that follows up and closes the loop. There's something outside.
But the one thing I did was curious about is is this just a contribution to healthcare? Health insurance or is it pension?
Just health insurance.
But as the UAAL covers health insurance and pension?
I don't know, this doesn't involve pension.
It does not involve pension at all.
But isn't that what UAAL is?
Unfunded actuarial accrued liability. So that's,
Does that include health insurance?
it's health insurance.
Oh, it is.
That's all this is.
Oh, no, but UAAL is not pension, it's health
Not,
insurance.
yeah, it's used in that context, but it's also.
I got you. So. We're not being asked, we're not increasing, this is just telling us what would happen if and
Yeah.
the time that it would take and. Good. I get it.
All right. Next item is a proposed date for the joint meeting to consider year-end transfer requests. So you had proposed July 8th.
July 9th, to have it as part of a joint topic with the board already meeting that night.
Yeah.
And so we did go ahead and poll FinCom members and we've heard back from 4 of them so far, and that they all can be there. So if that's agreeable, we would be, Jenny and I would be working, and really primarily Jenny, she does most of the work on the line item transfers, is to put those together for that meeting, and that ensures that we we finish up the fiscal year with all the constant balance.
So are there likely to be more than we've looked at so far?
I know she was just looking at it yesterday. I have not looked at a recent number. I know when we did the ones a few weeks ago, there wasn't anything else on our radar that was clearly going over. But there's, there tend to be, even if something goes over $5, you have to do a line item transfer. You cannot end an expense line, any amount over. So there's nothing that's on my radar as on track to overspend.
Next item is just organizational assessment update. So both the board and committee chair questionnaires and resident assessments are due tomorrow. Following that, they're gonna compile all the data, and then we have a meeting scheduled early July, I think July 8th, to just talk about their kind of initial findings and where they're going from there. They're also interviewing by phone potential interim town manager candidates. They got a pretty good response. What they were expecting was that they would get people that are retired, just looking to pick up a short-term gig, but he said that they've also had some people inquire that would be looking potentially for the permanent town manager position, so some different options to choose from. So Angus had asked me today about the timing for that. It'd be good to know when that's gonna happen, and we'll touch base with them on that.
That's curious. I understand how you can take a retired person and put him in here. How would you take somebody who could theoretically be your permanent one? They would have a job currently, you would think, or be.
I don't know, it must not, or maybe it's not full time. I don't know the details.
And it's not a situation.
Yeah, we'll see. He just said it was unique, that was interesting. I mean, you know, if it was a qualified candidate, that would be nice to have two transitions, but you'll have to see what. That's why. Any questions on the correspondence? MSBA materials on the feasibility study for Whittier.
Yeah, that's where I wrote my notes about the $2.5 million, which is what the cost of it is. And by the way, the state is kicking in, you can see in this some of the real line item of absolutely zero. Because they kicked in last time, so they said this time around it's a Whittier. So if it goes forward, the agreement doesn't get to where it has to be in the right time frame. And burn $2.5 million.
I'll tell you, the superintendent has given that a lot of thought, and actually, the last half hour or so of the meeting, there was a lot of discussion about that exact issue, and she put it to the group of, you know, when the meeting MSBA has next Wednesday, they're going to ask her specifically, is the district ready to go forward? And by that, they mean, and you know, complete this, and there was a lot of discussion, and toward the end of it, Mayor Reardon said, yes, we're ready. And Mayor Gove said, yes, we're ready. And Rowley said, yes, we're ready. Like everyone said, we've come this, there's a long way to go to get this done in 12 months. But everyone felt, well, I should say everyone spoke up. She said, we're ready. She said, we have to, you know, stay the course, because there was some discussion. I mean, it was a half hour discussion. I took a lot of notes, so I could brief you more detail based on, you know, what I checked, because I try to write down everything everyone says at a meeting like that, but there was some discussion of, is there any path where you could like ask MSBA to defer their action for a year or something? And there's not, if the options the district has would be to either go forward and look for the vote next Wednesday, or to actually withdraw and kind of go take themselves entirely out of the MSBA pipeline. So
They can't do that because they get bumped up on the line, so you'd be back another 5 years before you can
yeah,
go there.
and I think there is a sense that even though there's a long way to go to get to agreement, specifically on the capital allocation, if you look at all of the people around that room, and they've all come to all of the meetings, that's one thing that's been very nice, is that the attendance not only hasn't tapered, it's actually improved as this committee's gone on. Yeah, the challenges are real, and they're not going anywhere, but everyone's engaged. And you could see if this fell off the table for a year or two, not only do you have no momentum, it's virtually impossible to get started again, because everyone who was involved is going to be kind of sour on it. But also, I know that one of the district's concerns is if there's not an MSBA project, and then they're bringing forward in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5-figure capital projects, whether that's for electrical or HVAC or the sewer or whatever, under the current formula, if more than 3 communities voted that down during the normal budget process, which is within the realm of possibility.
Oh, it's probability.
At that point, you know, you could end up in the not too distant future with a defunct district. So they're really looking at this as like a existential type process.
So 2 questions if I can. One is, why are all these FSA costs not eligible?
Because they already funded it for the previous one, and they said, next one's on you,
So that feasibility study is of no value,
limited value.
limited value?
We tried to get them to say, we already know what the deal is on that side. The state says, now you gotta look at it again still.
Because
We can use a lot of the data.
We wrote a letter back in October, November that this board supported, and all 11 cities and towns supported. It was 2-page letter to MSBA, basically making a very, very powerful case that the district already spent all this money on the current site. We shouldn't have to spend the money again. We got a letter back from MSBA that they did not accept that. And they said you have to, your feasibility study has to include a fresh look at the existing campus, even though the political direction is more toward this alternate.
And there is one community that still thinks we ought to be looking hard at the existing site too,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Who's,
Probably.
Wasn't Groveland the one for that? Oh, that was not. That was Groveland. In that one vote, you mean? But and the other question is, what was I gonna say? Of the, this $2.5 million would be allocated to the various communities, probably on the.
Yeah.
No.
They already
Yeah,
have the money in an account. They
Yeah, the
just-
school committee has already voted to appropriate it from their stabilization, which is exactly to Chris's point, that's money they could otherwise use for capital improvements. And
So, but the go, no go is you either do this to have the prospect of the new facility, or you just quit on that, and it sounds like has everybody said, yes, let's do it?
everyone at the meeting, and it was probably 35 people, all mayors, managers, select board members. Nobody said that they thought the district should withdraw.
And
Is there anyone who
We
maybe
were
thought
there.
that didn't speak up? I can't speak to that, but in terms of the discussion,
how did
everybody
you
who spoke, well, we didn't vote on that specific question. That was more after the votes had all been taken. Maureen kind of took the floor, the superintendent, and kind of said, you know, on the 24th, I'm gonna be asked if we're ready. And if we go through this and we spend this money and then this all falls flat and we're.
I get it, but it's almost like a mission control.
You don't have a choice, it's
That's
a hostage situation.
I understand, but I'm asking, as
Well, it
it's
is.
like, you know, engineering go, you know, astronaut go, as they went down, and everybody said, I'm in, wait, the story you just told, did anyone not speak up? Did you just,
Everyone who spoke up said,
no, did it, but did everyone?
she didn't do it that way.
She didn't do it that way.
Yeah,
It was
because I wasn't taking the vote. This wasn't like a.
No, I know you weren't, but,
So,
but among all the representatives, some people said, we're ready to go, we're ready to go, we're ready to go, and everyone else either sat silent.
yeah,
Which
yeah,
was,
but the language, the tenor was, it's kind of now or never.
yeah,
And then 2 days after the RAC meeting last Wednesday, last Friday afternoon, there was a chairs meeting that I was part of with the chairs of the school committee, of the school building committee and the administration, and there was a lot of talk about that very thing and everyone's like.
good, I guess, so it's a go, spending the money.
Spending the money, I'm sure of that, whether it's a go or not.
Well, no, to go to spend the money.
Because everybody's saying they gotta roll the dice, if you don't, you've got nothing.
Right. You're
It's
starting.
a dead man switch, right? You either hit it or you don't.
That's
You
right.
can't get to the next level without it.
Yeah, I got you. All right.
Next year, we could be looking like, not we, but the school committees could be looking pretty poor. But again, to your point, if this project doesn't go forward in a certain relatively short time frame, Whittier will cease. It's just that simple.
Yeah, no question.
So,
But the towns, the cities and towns have an obligation to provide for, you know, VOTEC education.
look for some creative options. One mayor said they'll just do it in their own schools.
And
And I can't,
but interestingly, if you look at the polling, as the question as to can you, you know, what was the one about, can you envision the district being successful with that word? Can you envision like going forward separate from the district?
Yeah.
That city voted, I forget the exact number.
Yes, but let's go forward.
Where am I?
we've got a lot of varying opinions on where people are going. That's the other problem. It's all basically, at the end, they're gonna come down, I think, to the capital assessment.
Mhm. Yeah, that was,
And just.
can your community envision a future where Whittier Tech is successful, but your community is no longer a part of the district? That city, that mayor voted no. Which was, I think, kind of surprising. You
I'm
were.
not sure how to interpret the question, so I would have had to think about that for quite a bit.
But I think my sense is he's probably done a lot of research and realized how not simple that would be for Newburyport to try to create its own chapter 74 programs. And I think that, I think there's some recognition that they need to be part of Whittier. In the absence of.
Not for this board to discuss, but for that group, and I talked to Cliff and Bernie.
Hmm.
And I said, suppose it's a weird concept, suppose you say, okay, Whittier sends 82% of the kids from Haverhill, right? I think it's,
I think 68.
okay, I thought it was higher than that, but either way, suppose Haverhill said, we're gonna build it, we're gonna fund it, we own the school.
That's what.
You
Rowley-
guys can all choice in, it's gonna cost you 30.
That's what Rowley would like to have happen. They would like it to become.
Not an unreasonable option.
Behavioral school that is then, on a tuition
They
basis.
get to say, here's your capital cost, here's your operating cost, that's what you wanna choice a kid every year, that's what's gonna cost you. If you don't like it, you don't have to send kids, I mean, that's it changes the dynamic of the conversation a lot.
All right, what about the Comcast cable? Is that as scary as it sounds?
Not at all. Most of these are lapsed. Yeah.
Yeah, here we go.
Yes.
My cable still works, the bill just keeps going up.
Yeah. All right,
So we're saying yes, we're gonna renew it or something, is that?
No, it's not that, it's not simple at all. We've been working to some extent on a Verizon license for, off and on for years, and there's a certain application process and.
We have until December to.
It takes, even once you start, it takes.
yeah, we're already.
So what are we gonna respond?
Well, I can brief you on this, to kind of outline if you.
Well, they're looking for-
a lot of back-
It says a written update within 30 days, that's like 2 weeks from now.
You just say, thank you, we take your point,
Okay, whatever. A sense that.
that's a legal term, right?
Yeah,
I've got some notes from, our town council and that's some, these letters look scary, but there's not really any,
All right, I move we go into executive session, for MGL chapter 30, section 21A3 and 7.
Second,
All in favor?
why lie?
Read aye.
and we leave the public session open to come back and adjourn after, right? Aye.
so the board's recessing to executive session and will return to open session for the sole purpose of adjournment. Thank you.